That's right. I climb the mountains of the skies. This is Irate Prostate. It's Saturday night. You know what that means? It's time for accelerated decompression. Deconstruction. Accelerated decompression. We're going to get the bends. And tonight's episode is entitled 2 + 2 =
Pineapple.
That's right. 2 + 2 = pineapple, because we live in clown world. I don't know where to go with that, right?
No, it's really fucked up, and we're gonna watch a video earlier. Like,
let me tell.
So,
go ahead. I need to tell Towels something, okay? Man, the great thing about Steel Pulse back in the day is the guitar player would not play on their albums, and the dude who was fucking David Gilmour Jr. The dude played Pink Floyd, I mean, type leads with that reggae music. He was incredible. And man, they're a great live band. They're still playing. So anyway, I'm getting off my high horse, but Steel Pulse is one of the best. They're a British reggae band. Highly recommend. Anyway, sorry. Back to Clown World.
I mean, I love my British reggae and like all the two-tone stuff. So don't get me wrong, I like that conversation, but that's not what we do here.
I know, dude. But you know, he asked me because he knew it. I mean, shit. How many people know Steel Pulse? I'm just saying. Anyway, it's
And by the way, we're missing one of our usual. It's co-host on this, which is Atima, which she'll be here. She's just a little bit late.
That's right. She's stuck in traffic.
She is usually the person that does all the hardcore shilling because she's really good at that. And apparently we didn't do good enough because this is like a low count for us. Only 7 people watching right now. So if you guys out there, if you can shill this out to other people, make sure people know that we're live right now, it would be much appreciated. But going back to the 2 + 2 = 4 thing, I know a ton of people out there have seen this on Twitter. Even if they're not in our chat, like it's been a thing, right? Like people don't understand where this 2 + 2 thing, this whole argument even started. And funny enough, it goes back to what has been our primary source material, which has been from James Lindsay and the people at New Discourses. He posted this little picture on Twitter. He called it a woke mini. And then he said 2 + 2 = 4, a perspective in white Western mathematics that marginalizes other possible values. So this got spread around, and when the woke crowd saw it, instead of just being like, blah, 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 this is a troll, they just said, hey, we should figure out how to prove him wrong that 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4. And then like an entire, I mean, you had mathematicians chiming in, having these very special cases where it would seem like 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, but what they're really doing is something like hiding the 1, right? Like there's other things going
by
on.
White people, hold on, man. It's white math.
Yeah, no, that's part of the problem.
Right.
With the fact that why he said this.
That's what's problematic.
They actually didn't disagree with his description that it's a perspective in white Western mathematics that marginalize other possible values. Nobody on the woke left that addressed this disagreed with his satirical comment on 2 + 2 = 4. No. Right? They didn't disagree with it. In fact, they went along with it, and they tried to prove that it was a perspective in white Western mathematics. I always fucking forget her name.
He is fucking epic.
Fucking Hannah Hayes or whatever, the 1619 Project editorial leader from the New York Times, just said, "Oh, totally classic. White people using Arabic numerals to try to make a point." The reason they have a real problem with this is they explicitly say there's no such thing as objective truth. And so when you take it to something as simple as mathematics, right, like 2 + 2 = 4, it always equals 4.
But Excel.
There's no real exception to this. But that creates a contradiction, right? Because it's objectively true that 2 + 2 = 4, right? Like if you want to redefine the meaning of 2, redefine the meaning of plus, redefine the meaning of 4, sure, you could come up with something,
right? Because it's
very well understood what 2 + 2 means, and we know that when you put 2 things and 2 other things together, you end up with 4 of those things, and you can observe that in real life.
Well, you know, and here's the deal: you can go to fucking, I don't know, this might sound a little racist, but you could go to any drug dealer with dark skin, and that dude will be fucking good at math. I guarantee to you, and he will tell you that 2 + 2 = 4, or a rock.
Hey, Tyro's in the stream, and I don't know if I've seen him on this one, but yes, not only have we watched it, but we're actually going to play the clip eventually in the stream about why this is important. Because it seems like this very trivial Twitter dispute, but it's not. Like this is affecting educational programs. This is the woke trying to infiltrate math to turn mathematics into another vehicle to promote woke ideology. Right? It's not actually this benign thing that we make fun of, because to most of us, we think it's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous you would even have the argument. But to the woke, they're very serious about mathematics being this white hegemonic, very white supremacist, what would they call it? A thing that upholds the white supremacist patriarchy of our current society. And they think math itself needs to be disrupted and dismantled and reimagined in this new woke vision.
Agreed.
And no, to the woke, like, they're very serious. It's crazy. Like, if I told you there were people out there trying to do that with math, most people are going to be like, "No, you're totally fucking wrong." But I have proof. I have the receipts, and we're going to play it on this this stream.
You wanna roll? We got this thing by Drunken Uncle. You want to roll with this first?
Yeah, let's do that first. So, Drunken Uncle made a video that was in response to somebody talking about anti-racism, and he made a lot of hilarious but still very layman, I guess, like, criticism of what was going on. But it was absolutely hilarious, and he also, I was, you know, very honored to be part of his live chat. Well, also his voice chat when he premiered it. So he gave us permission to play it on the stream because it goes right into everything we've been talking about. So yeah, let's roll it.
And he said he would have been there, but it's like 3:00 in the morning where he's at. So he's passed out. It's Saturday night. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Brits are usually either balls deep or shit faced.
Someday.
Anyway, it is Sunday, isn't it? All right, people. Good to see Penoid. I knew you'd show up with the when I mentioned the dope dealer. All right. That's right.
So make sure that you go live.
You know, what with it being the current year, I think it's time we had a guide on how to not be racist. No, wait, a guide on how to be anti-racist. No, wait, a guide for white people to be anti-racist. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Drunkle, isn't assuming white people are racist an act of racism in itself? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is.
What?
Irate, go live. I can't see.
Oh, my bad.
Shown by Kelsey Packwood, who spent well over 12 minutes putting together this handy tutorial on how white people can stop being so gosh darn evil.
Hey guys, welcome to Real Talk with Kelsey Pack.
Yes, time for some real talk. None of that fake talk for us, we're worth it.
I'm Kelsey Packwood, and I have put together my own guide to help white people be less racist.
Whoa, you're just steaming on in there, eh, Kelsey? Help white people be less racist. Like that's just the default setting or something, the way we were made. Good God, this video's awful already.
The White People's Guide to Being Anti-Racist. Number 1. Educate yourself.
I fucking hate that sentence, because there's no way you're wrong about it. No, it's just I haven't consumed enough media to convince myself that racism is lurking around the corner, in the eyes of every white person, in the smile of every baby. Educate yourself. What am I supposed to do? Get a degree in being offended?
First and foremost, you need to educate yourself. It is not your black friend's job to educate you.
Well, no, that would suggest they have a job. See, that was racist, but it was also a joke. I would tell you to lighten up, but you'd say that's racist too.
And if they have the kindness in their heart and patience to do it, then pay them.
Whoa, what? What the fuck? This is all just one big money grab, isn't it? Not only do I get told I'm inherently racist because of the colour of my skin, something that is quite racist in itself, by the way, but I also get to shell out 20 quid for the pleasure. You must be fucking kidding me, love. I mean, it's one thing to suggest black people are born experts on race, but quite another to suggest it's a legitimate line of work.
This is hard work.
Is it though? I mean, it's just complaining, isn't it? I think you'll find a lot of middle-aged white women do that as a fucking hobby.
Educating yourself is gonna feel like a full-time job.
Well, when you've somehow managed to monetize getting offended, I should imagine most things feel like a full-time job.
But remember, black people have been oppressed for over 400 years. You are just now realizing that we still live in a racist country.
But I'm not from your country, Kelsey. White people can live in other countries, you know. So perhaps a reminder that other places exist is in order. Time to break out of that little echo chamber you call the world and do some exploring, you know?
It's the least you can do.
No, I think I can do less.
Read books, watch TV and film about racism.
Holy shit, that sounds boring. Why would I do that? It's like when you spent all day playing a video game and then you dream about it that night. No wonder you see racism everywhere. You need to unplug for a while, my girl. Go for a walk or something. Jesus.
Streaming services have curated special sections of their websites just for black films.
What? So they've segregated movies according to colour? That's a weird thing to be proud of, Kelsey. In the words of the great Martin Luther King, this bitch be cray.
Social media. Engage with your online community and then pass along your knowledge.
Uncle's
It will
funny
make a
as shit,
difference.
man.
I promise.
Oh, it will it? So, black people have been oppressed for 400 years, but that's just because they didn't have Facebook back then. It takes a selfie to really look at yourself and replace your plantations with Farmville.
Number 2.
Oh, God, that was only number 1.
When a black person is suffering, let them grieve.
Fucking hell, who knew telling someone to cheer up is an act of racism?
You don't get to have an opinion on how we grieve.
I mean, yeah, I do. That's why it's called an opinion. And what do you mean, how we grieve? Do you think you do it differently or something? The method of grieving is pretty universal, isn't it? Mope around, have a little cry, maybe punch a wall and then get angry because you hurt your hand. How we grieve. You do realise black people are human, don't you, Kelsey?
We are human beings,
Oh, right, yeah, you cleared that up then.
and we have the right to fight for our freedom.
Well, then you'd think you'd be more concerned with slavery still being prevalent in parts of the world. But no! Tell me more about your special grieving techniques.
If you think your opinion is more important than black lives, you are wrong and you are racist.
When has anyone ever said that? Seriously, when has anyone ever said, my opinion is more important than black lives? You're making it up, Kelsey.
I'll
And we're
say
only
it.
on number 2 here.
End of discussion.
Oh, well, pack it up then, boys. Kelsey said it's the end of the discussion. Time to go.
Number 3. Help your black friends and family in need.
Unless you're about to follow it up with, instead of your white friends and family, then how is this a race issue? That's just being a kind person.
How many of you have checked in on your black friends and family lately?
Huh, that's a good point actually. Hold on. Hey, Blanco. Blanco. Oh, for goodness sake. Hey, Blanco. Oh my God, he's bleeding.
Are you aware that black people are less likely to own a home, go to college, be paid a fair wage?
Less likely than who? Bill Gates? Well, yeah, same here. That's not a race thing, that's a class thing. And speaking as someone who has no class, believe me when I say #MeToo.
You may think this has nothing to do with you, but you staying complacent is only prolonging our chance at having equal rights.
Except owning a home and going to college aren't rights, and if you are being paid less in a job because of your pigmentation, then I strongly advise you speak to a lawyer because that shit is illegal.
So check in on your black friends and family.
Oh yeah, I'll just hit up my mate from school and ask him if he has a college education yet. That'll go down well.
Make sure they're eating. If you have extra in savings, give some financial assistance to a friend or family member in need.
And back to the money grab. Phenomenal! To think you deserve free shit because of your skin, it boggles the mind.
Most of us are experiencing extreme PTSD, anxiety, and depression. We are not okay.
Probably because of all those books on racism you're constantly reading, Kelsey. Again, go for a walk or something.
Seriously, what trauma? What fucking trauma has she experienced?
Become pie!
And if you
Hold
can't
on,
help
you can
financially,
stop again. So like everything, like what makes this video by Drunkle brilliant is without kind of knowing any of the underlying philosophy that's backing what this dumb bitch is saying. He's just pointing out the obvious. Like all these contradictions are true. Like they're super obvious. They're incredibly flawed. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And in no way would this ever help going forward with resolving any race issues that currently exist.
No.
Right?
If
It's
anything, it would make them worse.
yeah,
In my opinion.
it's just bitching in too many words.
Yeah. And give me money. He's right about the money grab, man. He's not wrong.
Check in on us
Yeah.
anyway. Showing us that you care will go a long way.
But you'd rather have the cash.
Number 4, believe black women.
What, all of them? I'm having a hard time believing you.
This may sound obvious,
It's pronounced ludicrous.
but I can't tell you how many times I've told someone the truth only for them to label me as the crazy black woman.
Well, I don't want to be that guy, but have you listened to yourself? Your video so far can be summed up as, we grieve differently, give us money.
Not only is this hurtful and dehumanizing, it's also anti-black, and it keeps black women at the bottom of our social hierarchy.
Whereas you'd rather be in a place where you can't be criticised and everything you say is gospel? What about the black women out there who are convinced the earth is flat? Do I have to believe them? Puts me in a very awkward position, that does.
We need to be protected. Don't question us.
No! What the no!
Our lives are already hard enough. So don't make us feel like we're liars.
Well, maybe you wouldn't feel that way if you hadn't just generalised your entire race and gender, Kelsey.
Number 5, take slavery seriously.
Me take it seriously? You didn't even bring it up until number 5? On your list of priorities, slavery is below owning a house.
If I hear one more person say, but it was 400 years ago, I'm gonna scream.
But, it was 400 years ago? Like I said before, it's still happening in parts of the world now, but you're too busy focusing on the past to let that bother you.
I bet most of you don't know that it has been scientifically proven that the effects of slavery pass through black people's genes, generation after generation.
What?
That's a complete horseshit.
What?
Yeah, that's just not
That
true.
is a bold claim, that is. What are the effects, Kelsey? Because unless you were born with scars on your back, then I think you're chatting shit, old girl.
We are still literally feeling the repercussions of our ancestors being slaves.
But what does that mean? You break out in a cold sweat every time you see a man wearing a white suit? Because that's the logo for KFC, mate.
So be kind and remember that segregation only ended 56 years ago.
Well, it's still going on in the Netflix movie section, apparently.
If your parent is over 56, they were there to witness it.
Yeah? So what makes you think you know more about it?
Number 6,
Ah, there's 6! Whatever happened to end of discussion?
see color. Please, see our color.
So, fight racism by putting more emphasis on race? No, I don't see that one working out.
We don't want you to pretend like we aren't different. We are black. Our skin has melanin. We can't change that. Saying that you don't see color completely invalidates our blackness.
But now answer me this if you can. Why does your blackness matter? According to you, things like not going to college are because of your blackness. So is that because people see it or because they don't? You can't have both.
Be honest with yourself and don't try to take our color away from us too. You do not have that right.
Hold on. You just said we're black, we can't change that. But then went on to say, don't try to take our colour away from us. Will you just try to make sense for one moment, Kelsey?
Number 7,
Ugh.
commit for the long run.
Like this fucking video, you mean? Holy shit.
Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, come on. You can't bring up running and expect me to not make a joke.
Black people have been suffering for over 400 years.
Well, then there must be some old ass black people out there.
You've been uncomfortable for what, a couple of months? We cannot backslide. Commit to fighting for black rights forever.
Such as?
If your social media feed is going back to normal, you've decided that racism isn't a deal breaker for you, and that's a deal breaker for us.
What deal? What the fuck are you talking about? What you see on your social media feed is largely controlled by what other people post. And let's not ignore the fact that you've made sweeping generalizations about both white people and black people. And women. You want to sit there and make a guide on how to be anti-racist, but what you should have done is watch a guide on how to be self-aware.
Number 8, call out your racist white friends and family.
But the black racists are fine.
Please, who cares if Thanksgiving is going to be awkward?
Well, the Native Americans didn't get genocided, so I can shout at my grandfather, Kelsey.
Black people are dying. I hate to break it to you, but black people aren't going anywhere.
But you just said they're dying.
So don't let racist comments slide.
Oh, I'm not.
You wouldn't like it if it was happening to you. So just use the golden rule. It's not that complicated. Didn't you learn that in what, like, kindergarten?
I didn't go to kindergarten. I'm British, you bellend. Do you know, I'm fucking done. I think it goes on for 2 more remarkably abstract points, but I just don't have the energy. This was meant to be a guide for white people to be anti-racist. You remember? Well, all I learned was this girl has issues, and not one of them is because of her race. For instance, she clearly didn't go to college, not because she's black, but because she's a fucking idiot. I mean, to sit there and say all white people are racist, and then to believe all black women, one is bad, one is good. That is the literal definition of racism. So, despite reading so many books, she never once picked up a dictionary. Thanks for watching, guys. Please consider becoming a patron because I deserve free shit too. And check out my new Twitch channel where I play games and chat utter bollocks for hours on end. The links are in the description, and remember, I don't know about anti-racism, but can I interest you in an uncle?
Alright, clap.
Yay! That was excellent, man. He's funny as hell. And that little girl was pissing me off, man. Because I've got my truth too, and my truth contains that I was passed over for people that didn't look like me and have the same junk that I have. Just saying. I'm not lying, man.
I know. I'm just sitting there
I
like...
had exemplary quarterly reviews. I'm just saying. I'm not salty about this shit at all.
So the best part about like Drunken's video on this is that's what like any reasonable, his response is what any reasonable person should have to the kind of bullshit that person was spouting out.
It's insane.
Unfortunately, like I know that she's speaking a language that is different than the plain language most of us understand. Right? She's speaking the language of critical social justice, where when she's talking about anti-racism, like, reminder folks, to these people, there is no such thing as not being a racist. You are either a racist or you are an anti-racist. There's no in between. So if you don't fall in line with the dogma of critical social justice, you are a racist. Also, if you are white, actually they say you are a racist, but the best thing you can do to absolve yourself from that, which you'll never truly absolve yourself from that.
You just can't shake
this
it.
is not a joke. Like they really say like you're still racist because you grew up white and privileged in a Western society. But you can become an ally, which means you'll never totally be up to snuff, but you at least know when to keep your mouth shut when other people are talking.
And when to get on your knees.
That are part of oppressed groups.
Yeah, and lick feet and shit. Suck.
Yeah, and I wish I was oversimplifying this, but I'm pretty sure they like at the core of what I just said, they wouldn't disagree, right? Like if you're a white male trying to be an anti-racist, you're gonna point out racism any place you can possibly see it, as defined by critical social justice warriors, right? Not based on your own opinion of what racism should mean, which is discriminating on people based on the color of their skin. No, you're just going to call it out. Anytime there's a disparity, you're going to say it's wrong and that obviously racism is a problem and we need to solve it. And you can be vocal preaching that to your white friends. But whenever a person that is an actual minority, a black person, decides to speak, you need to just sit there, shut up, and if you have any disagreements with them, you need to keep it to yourself because that is part of your racism. I know that sounded fucked up, didn't it?
No, man, it's you're right on, man.
No, it sounded fucked up, but that's exactly what's
That's
going
what
on.
it is, man. Exactly, and it is fucked up. It's insane. It's an insane cult-like mindset that it aggravates me, and it terrifies me all at the same time.
Well, and we went over how this is basically a cult, right? Like it indoctrinates you. It preys on your weakness. It's people like me. I think we're always kind of invulnerable from it because I've always had this libertarian stance where, like, I deplore racism, like real racism. I don't like it. Look, I will stand up if you actually point out a situation where a company or a person is refusing service to somebody or discriminating them because they don't like the color of their skin. Like, I'm on board, but they've redefined it to be something else. They've redefined racism to be anything that goes on in all of society that, if you look at the outcomes, the social economic outcomes specifically, if they aren't exactly the same, that means racism is happening and we have to fix it. That actually bleeds in really well to this whole 2 + 2 = 4 thing.
Right.
I think most people watching, like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure they've heard this whole 2 + 2 nonsense going on. And a whole bunch of woke people are trying to explain why 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4, which is false. It always equals 4.
And what had happened the week before on 4chan, of course, they put it up as a troll. They said, let's troll these motherfuckers and see if we can't get them to bite. And sure enough, they bit. They bite every time. It's okay to be white, and then the okay symbol. This is just another example of that shit. It's amazing, and I'm not sure, but I think the Babylon Bee predicted this too somewhere.
Well, with that, let's just go ahead and because it all started with like I said, the person that provides us with most of our source material.
Yeah,
when we're talking about critical social justice, which is James Lindsay and his group at New Discourses.
Peter,
he started this whole troll.
Yeah, and Helen Pluckrose. They are the holy trinity of unwokage, and I love these people. And James Lindsay is a brilliant man in all kinds of ways.
People like them make us step back as far as our political positions go, because we don't agree with them as far as they would be. They're Democrats, really, right? Most of them said they voted for Hillary Clinton, voted for Obama twice. They believe in a lot of things that are, I would say, like kind of more like John Stuart Mill's type liberalism, where the state should intervene in certain situations. They're not right wing at all, right? Like, we have plenty to fucking argue about between people like us and people like James Lindsay.
Yeah.
But we found ourselves in a position as a society where that's not where the battleground is being drawn, right? It's being drawn between people from the liberal tradition, which is why I say #TakeBackLiberal, which is American conservatism and American liberalism. Both have always been from the liberal tradition. We need to like I'm saying, like, we're sitting there trying to take it back against an ideology that is critical social justice, which is explicitly anti-liberal, right? It is accurate to call it a neo-Marxist movement, because even in their own writings, they say, like, you go back, like, they're just like, yes, we're referring to Marx. No, we are not liberals. Like, we are anti-liberal. I know this isn't going to be true for your random person in the streets that is advocating this stuff, because they've been told that this is the correct ideas. But the thought leaders of all of this, they explicitly call themselves anti-liberals. It's not even up for debate. But anyway, let's go ahead and play this.
Let's roll this motherfucker.
2 and 2 make 4. A very controversial opinion in 2020. Brought to you by New Discourses.
Hey everybody, it's come to be time to talk about 2+2. So you're listening to the New Discourses podcast. This is James Lindsay. I have to warn you, this is going to be kind of super long and maybe a bit annoying and a little bit heavy. There's just no other way to explain it. So we'll jump right in, try to talk about what this is all about. As many of you will have noticed on my Twitter feed in particular, but also around Twitter more generally, and in now some significant media outlets, people are starting to talk about 2+2 and what it equals. Does it equal 4? Does it equal something else? And I wrote an article on New Discourses about a week ago talking about this, called 2+2 Never Equals 5, to explain the backstory and explain some of the material around it. And now here I am recording a podcast about it as well. So the basic backstory, to kind of give you some idea of how this absurd situation where we now have people who identify themselves as social justice and then mathematicians and math educators beyond that defending the idea that 2+2 equals 5, how that came about, how that happened, has a lot to do with me, as it turns out. In many respects, it's my fault. Way back in June, right after everything sort of blew up, I started this line of satirical, little quippy, almost Devil's Dictionary style meme cards that I started putting on Twitter and Instagram called Woke Minis. And one of my Woke Minis resulted from a conversation I had in a direct message with somebody who was asking me to explain how the postmodern ideology, the critical social justice ideology in particular, would think about a concept like 2+2. I was asked, would they say 2+2 equals 5? Would they say 4? Would they say 3? What would they say? And I tried to explain that the answer is actually that 2+2 can equal 4, but it can also equal other things. So the exact phrasing I said was 2+2 equals doesn't matter. And then they would add on to this that the idea that 2+2 equals 4 comes from a hegemonic narrative about mathematics, or hegemonic discourse within mathematics, and therefore should be held suspiciously.
Yeah, pause real
This
quick.
led me to write a Woke Mini for...
Yes, so this goes back to a theme that we've talked about a lot, where this new critical social justice ideology does not believe in objective truth. And it's not some philosophical thing where they're just like, oh, well, there's, you can't prove that anything is ever objectively true. It's more that the attempt to get to objectivity is wrong to even think about, and it's not even desirable.
Who are you working for, China?
Yes, China.
I mean, it's like the communist. I mean, this is right out of 1984, anyway. So I will continue.
No, and it hold on, for people, it literally is.
Yes,
it literally is. This whole thing was in an Orwellian book where once you get a new Ministry of Truth, they can tell you 2+2 equals whatever they want it to equal.
Right. When Winston is being tortured, the torturer tells him that, he asks him, how many fingers am I holding up? And he's holding up 4 fingers. And Winston's confused, right? And then he says, the correct answer is whatever the state tells you. The answer is.
Yeah, and it's going to be blaringly obvious as we go through the first 18 minutes of this video. But that's the point he's trying to make, is the reason they took this troll, and it was a troll, right? It was just like this little woke mini, and decided to turn it into something that they were actually going to, die on the hill of, for lack of a better metaphor. It's because they wanted to prove that their goal is to subvert any kind of objective truth, because they don't believe in it.
It's just
anyway, go.
Well, right. It's about their truth. You know.
Well, yeah, it's whatever.
Truth.
It's whatever's convenient for them to promote the goals that they want to promote.
Exactly.
That's not what they would say, but that's the reality of the situation.
Right. That's the ends. It's not the means stuff.
2 plus 2, wrote it like a dictionary entry, like all the woke minis, and it says 2 plus 2 equals 4, a perspective in white Western mathematics that marginalizes other possible values. So this was at the beginning of June that I first put this on Twitter, and as I had hoped, my followers would then download that and put it on Twitter where, you know, they thought it might apply. So about a month later, the beginning of July, the 5th of July, Nicole Hannah-Jones of the 1619 Project made fun of my little woke mini card about 2 plus 2 equals 4. She quote tweeted somebody who had tagged it under one of her other tweets, and she wrote, using Arabic numerals to try to make a point about white Western superiority is just so damn classic. So what Nicole Hannah-Jones here was doing, you'll notice she didn't say that I was wrong. She didn't say that I mischaracterized the position, the woke position, as it would say, self-contained on the meme, woke mini. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a perspective in white Western mathematics that marginalizes other possible values. She did not say that I was wrong about that, because she can't, because it is correct. That is the way that the woke ideology would think about 2 plus 2 equals 4. Instead, she tried to problematize it. She basically admitted that I was right by doing so, but rather than trying to refute this or say this is ridiculous or this is an unfair characterization, none of which are true, she said that I used Arabic numerals to try to make a point about white Western superiority, and that this is so damn classic. Like, I don't even know how problematic I am, because I'm obviously white and Western, and therefore it's a big problem.
Oh, yeah. So, there's a reason I was like, let's just play this out instead of me trying to explain why this 2 plus 2 debacle means more than it does. And I think that's the first step, is what he just pointed out, where it's not that the people that were critics of him said he was wrong, because they agree with that. They just decided to take it upon themselves to prove why it really is some white hegemonic version of truth
construct
that we should treat with the utmost suspicion. Anyway, carry on.
So once Nicole Hannah-Jones got involved, it became a thing. But little did most of us realize that it was already kind of a thing. Because in the broader context of what is and has been going on for years is a very particular kind of activism in mathematics education, particularly, that is trying to introduce either an ethnic studies mathematics program or what one researcher has called mathematics. I think that's how you would say it. It's spelled mathematic all the way to the C, to the T. It's very hard to say this, and then just ends with an X. It's not ends with TIX. It ends in TX. Like, the word just stops, and that's Rochelle Gutierrez, who's come up with mathematics. I'm not exactly sure if that's how you would pronounce such a thing. They are fans of unpronounceable words, kind of as a signal to people that they're doing their woke thing. Well, within the context of these math education radicals, revolutionaries really, we have one, and I apologize if I've mispronounced her name. I've tried to look it up and find out, and it didn't return results. Shraddha Sharude, the Secretary Director of the Washington State Ethnic Studies Project, and she's an ethnic math teacher, and she's been creating and disseminating a program that has now been installed in the Seattle city schools. It'll probably be extended to the Washington state school system.
Wait, we need to pause real quick.
And in some sense, it's being used as a model.
So, the alarm should be going off for any rational human being once James Lindsay talks about this person is trying to create ethnic math studies. because that doesn't exist, right? Chinese math is the same as American math, which is the same as like
but they'll
I don't know,
corner the
Swedish
niche, man.
math
Do you get that?
and African math. Like math is math. There's no delineation.
It's academic gymnastics too, though, right? See, in academia, you got to publish or perish, and there's only like so many jobs. So if you create a brand new field of study, you got a fucking job.
Well, yeah, and you're gonna learn that
Right?
this person has actually no background in mathematics. Their only background is
They're
in like
fucking morons.
education and
Yeah.
critical social justice bullshit. So
Yes.
yeah, maybe the publish and perish is part of this, but goddamn, how do they get this through? Like, how is this actually becoming the standard curriculum for
Well, there's obviously
any school district? And
a concerted effort to like push this agenda forward. I mean, it's not like these people don't know; they're just stumbling on the same shit at the same time, right? Because I mean, I hear identical talking points coming out of different areas. Man, it's weird. Remember, like last night we did this thing about the term masturbate, and
no, I don't remember because I was asleep.
you were asleep. That's right. But all right, so I had this little like 2-minute video of news people from different news sources talking about the mask debate, right? And they were saying masturbate, and it started sounding like they were saying masturbate, right? It was funny, but it was also, lit up that whole when there's a woke topic that comes up or there's some type of talking point, they all use it. And it's coming from somewhere. I mean, it's not like they're just plucking it out of their assholes. Just saying.
Well, yeah, we have Mr. Goatman being like ethnic math, and then like this weird emoji, like what? And then Tyra was saying like Chinese math is the only known real distinct sort of math approach from what we have today. That's about it. I'm gonna guess, Tyro, that it's actually not that much different. It's kind of like translating languages, right? It's even from the sound stream, right? The idea that 2 + 2 equals 4, and if you said no, but 2 + 2 might equal quattro, right? That's not a distinction between what 2 + 2 means, and I don't think Chinese math would make that distinction. It's just a transition of language. But once we agree on the axioms, right, and the reality that we live in, we can translate math into any language we want it to be. So,
Indeed.
yeah, we can go on.
All right. Yes, sir.
For an ethnic studies program that's up to become law in the state of California. So this is a significant activist in terms of her reach and influence. And she explicitly tied the issue of 2 + 2 = 5 to her ethno-mathematics education project by looking for a way to make 2 + 2 = 5 true in order to overcome objections that were being levied against her and her radical activist work. So there is a broader context here. So right after Nicole Hannah-Jones tweeted making fun of this, a number of math educators, primarily activists.
Pause. This is a reminder that he made this meme about 2 + 2 = 4 is some sort of white supremacist hegemonical idea that marginalizes other values. That instead of them just eating crow and being like, yeah, sure, 2 + 2 = 4, they decided to take it to the next level and prove that 2 + 2 can possibly equal something other than 4. Go on.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about a man and a woman, one plus one can equal 3 occasionally, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what you're doing is hiding the 1, right? There's like an extra 1 there that's going on based on another step that you're not.
Yeah, it's literally 1.5 and 1.5 makes 3, right?
Yeah,
if the half and the half get together.
Yeah, if that ends up happening, right? So like, it doesn't discredit the idea that 2 + 2 = 4. All it does is say like, there's situations where maybe we shouldn't just define something as simply 2, because there's more to go with it, and we know how to do that with mathematics. Anybody that's actually taken, like, I got all the way to fucking differential equations in college for mathematics, and all that stuff was still like very objectively true. Like everything they said was true based on what they told you was true. There's no room in mathematics to add in some weird special situations that say, well, occasionally the number 2 means something else.
No, it doesn't.
Right? Like if it does mean something else, it's because you're dealing in a system where it's already been defined. Right?
Well, it's still
but
2.
plainly exactly. Like I'm saying, plainly we understand what 2 means. You can redefine 2 to mean something other than like 2 specific objects.
Well, you can call it whatever you want. It's still going to be 2 specific objects. You can change the name all you want to anything else.
Well,
2 objects are still going to be 2 objects, and that's the problem they have.
In reverse, you can make a system where 2 does not mean 2 specific objects. But that's important. In any math teacher would tell you that
that's not math.
We're talking. Well, no, there might be a place for it.
No, that's not math. I teach math, Excel. I teach math to kids.
Look, I understand.
That's not math. You can't even justify it. You're using charity in the wrong place.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm using actually charity in the right place. I'm using it in the right place because, like any special situation where 2 means anything other than 2 objects, is going to be it's going to be well defined in the model that you're operating on.
It's not going to be, it's never going to be anything other than 2. Even if you want to create a system, air quote, you're not creating a system. You can try to say it's a 2 of other means. It's still a 2. You're changing the name of 2 and trying to say it's something different when it's still 2. Taking it to be anything other than that means it's no longer 2, because math is quite literally binary. It either is or is not. That's all there is to it. That's what makes it so asinine that they're doing the 2 + 2 = 5, and everybody's trying to use this philosophical debate-based charity, and there's literally no way to have charity with mathematics. Mathematics is the most unforgiving, absolute, direct, and concise thing there is in the world. You try to create a new system, all you're doing is relabeling what already exists.
God damn it, Atima. We're once again sitting here butting heads against each other about something we don't even disagree on, right? Like, we know what 2 means. 2 means something, right? 2 + 2 = 4. There are certain situations whenever you're dealing with notation and mathematics, like modular math, I think is one of them, right?
And it's no longer a 2.
Well, no, it's not. Like, you write it as a 2, but it's not the plain language explanation of what you would call it 2.
It's literally arguing semantics, basically.
Yes.
That's the conclusion. Because I was on the James Lindsay premiere, so we actually had that discussion. Like, because you had some actual math people, Devlin and Kareem Carr were 2 examples, who were pointing out, like, oh, here are cases where 2 + 2 doesn't necessarily equal 4. Like, there are legit math cases. But the thing is, those discussions missed the point. Those Devlin and Carr were being useful idiots and missing the forest for the trees, because they got so bogged down in the math discussion and trying to find ways that could possibly, 2 + 2 not 4. They missed what the real goal was, the real insidious goal.
Missing the forest for the trees is the most important part about all of this, right?
Yes.
So, like, me and Tyro, like, we both agree that, like, there's times where, like, you might use the number 2 as a notation to define something other than what would be obvious to other people, right? But it's missing the forest for the trees, where these people do not believe in objective truth, and they want to replace it with truth that they themselves can define and be the moral arbiters of truth.
Yes.
Excel, when you call shit number 2, like number 1's pee and number 2 is poop.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and like another actually example
But
I
that's
like to use.
biology, not mathematics, right? Sorry.
An example I like to use in math, where like we tell students a rule, but it doesn't always hold, is triangle. It's with sum of angles in a triangle, 180, right? We teach every kid sum of angles in a triangle is 180.
Cool.
Well, it's only true if you draw it on a flat surface. If you draw it on a sphere, or you draw it on like a concave or convex surface, the sum changes, actually. So But yeah, exactly. The idea is they're not attacking 2 + 2 = 4. That isn't the main point. The main point is attacking the idea of objective truth. Objective truth is the ultimate enemy of the Biswell because they can't have truth. It has to be postmodern. It has to be subjective. It has to be able to be rewritten and defined any way they want. So that when they tell you there are 5 lights, you believe there are 5 lights, and you're not Picard saying there are 4 lights.
Yeah.
All right, tell us what Baizhao is, because I don't think a lot of people know exactly what that term is.
Yeah, you're deriving a derogatory term from the Chinese.
Dang it! I helped popularize the word, and this is one of those things that's going to get me active again.
It's a great word.
Anyway, Biswell is my term for the loony lefties. So social justice warrior, or would roughly translate to it. A woke would be another sort of term for it. I like Biswell because it's a little it's I don't know. It just sounds better, and social justice warrior sounds too much like a compliment because you're calling them warriors. They're not warriors. They're just not. Like if you look at people like
they're just assholes.
Yeah, they're little whiny piss babies.
Yeah, sphincters.
But Biswell, basically, they're more defined by what they hate and what they oppose because they're very reactionary. Their only real defining trait is their tribalism. They have to be part of the tribe regardless. But they're defined by a lot of stuff that they hate more than what they actually push for. Because what they push for can change. Like Sean King, brilliant example. 2 years ago, he says how much he hates Kamala Harris and Biden. 2 years later, he's like, I love Kamala Harris and Biden. And it's like, yeah, that's typical Biswell because he will change based on the wind. Whatever he considers true, it will alter based on the context or the humanity or what the majority thinks. They want to blend in. Objective truth stands in the face of that. Like when Ben Shapiro says the facts don't care about your feelings, they hate that. They want the facts to change with their feelings. It's denial of reality. They want reality. They believe in magical reality.
Tyro, I just want to point out that everything you just said has been covered on the stream.
Awesome.
And we agree.
Yeah, no, I figured as such. That's why I did. I thought it was just you two.
A
That's
lot
why
of this bullshit mindset comes from pop psych and the self-esteem movement in the 80s.
I blame Timothy Leary.
In the 90s.
I think it started with Timothy Leary, not.
He was a
Dr.
pioneer
Timothy
of group therapy. If you didn't know
yeah,
that.
I think because he created the idea of sociological philosophy. Remember, and he started talking about how using acid could help you social engineer things. And
that guy. Yeah. Okay, I never remember his name.
Yeah.
Timothy Leary.
Some MK Ultra inspiration.
Yes, and I kind of think that guy. I don't know what it is about him, but I think he was very, very instrumental in fucking everything up the way it is fucked up right now.
He was very charismatic. In the way he would present himself. Very interesting person. Yeah.
The postmodernism in general, like basically you have what I call the 4 horsemen of the philosophical apocalypse, and this one ties into what's called epistemological anarchy, where it's the idea that all methods to reach knowledge are equally okay and nothing really matters.
Yeah, you're calling it anarchy, but in their words, they would call it epistemological justice.
Yeah, basically it's what they're going for. This is one of the 4 pillars of postmodernism, is what we're seeing being applied to math now. And I find this, as someone who has 2 degrees in math, I find this insanely offensive, like on a deep personal level.
Actually, I want to revisit this in a little bit, but I do want to go ahead with James Lindsay's 2 + 2 skill. Once again, we really only want to go through the first 15 to I think 18 minutes. That's where he focuses on why this is not just some like weird Twitter spat, right? It is actually a thing that's going to affect education in the future, and something they're trying to push on your children going forward to make the hard sciences, things that we think that at least approximate objective truth, can't do it, and they're trying to teach that to our kids. So let's keep going forward just a little bit more.
Within math education, started to try to argue that it is in fact
not Might help
a
if I
white
remember.
Western social construct and belief about knowledge that 2 + 2 = 4. And then 4 or 5 days later, I think 5 days later, we have Sharude coming in and making the point. She tweeted, "Help me respond to all those haters who said my ethnic studies framework claimed 2 + 2 = 5. So instead of dropping it at this point where she says, that it's obvious from the context here that she doesn't think that her ethnic studies framework says 2 + 2 = 5. Instead of dropping it at that point, she then tries to flip it over and says, how can we turn this into a true statement? The broader context of this particular tweet came, it can be read in another tweet where she said, and I quote, "The specific arithmetic attack phrase, meaning 2 + 2 = 5, came around last year after my team asked the question, who gets to determine what is right in math class in our ethnic studies math framework?" So there is a context in which for over a year people have been trying to create an ethnic studies math framework. This has been installed. This was already accepted by the city of Seattle by at least October or September of last year, 2019. And so now here we are, nearly a year later, and this attack creates this backstory, this context in which 2 + 2 = 4 being a white Western narrative creates a lot of stir, and then all of a sudden you have this activist with a lot of power in the Washington state education circles saying, how can we turn 2 + 2 = 5 into a true statement? So,
just want to say real quick, thanks to Pinoid, throws in $3. Freedom is slavery. 33 minus 13 = 33. Why am I always 6 months ahead of the game? P's invest in hotels. Bailout is coming. Make money while the rest starve.
Okay.
Love you, Tom Pease.
Indeed.
so that she can overcome objections to her haters and her works. This turned out to be a rather decisive error to try to make 2 + 2 = 5, because as I titled my article, 2 + 2 never equals 5. It just doesn't. Nevertheless, this question that she said was at the heart of the attack phrase, 2 + 2 = 5, which of course roots into Nazi propaganda, Soviet propaganda, the Orwell's 1984 is well known as a key point in people being completely off the rails, often in ways that are totalitarian. The question, who gets to determine what is right in math class, actually was part of the implemented framework by the city of Seattle. So this is a bigger deal than a Twitter fight or 2 + 2 = 4 or 5 or whatever.
It's just, I'm sorry. Who gets to determine whether the math is right? It's the math that determines whether the math is right. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter who makes the math or who does the math. The math is what determines what's right or wrong with the math.
Right.
Yeah, and
I was going to say, why am I not surprised that fucking Seattle has something to do with that
Right,
shit?
dude. The Pacific Northwest is just fucking garbage, dude. Well,
it gave us the Green River Killer and Ted Bundy, so it must be something going on up there.
Well, and the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, that's just Ted Cruz, though. But the remember that attack on math, it ties into their love of using ad hominem, because it doesn't to them. It doesn't matter the factual accuracy of what you say is not what they consider important. What they consider important is who's saying it. If you're the right person, then anything you say is true and has value. If you're the wrong person, like a straight white male, nothing you say can be right. You could say the sky is blue, and they'll say, "Yeah, but is it really?" Because it's ad hominem.
Yeah, Tyra, what you're saying is mostly true, and this whole 2 + 2 thing does go back to Orwell, because we also have to go back to what we talked about with less Foucault, but like the Derridian idea that language itself is a power structure. So the way we use language and think about words, they enforce these power structures. So when you have entire schools of thought like mathematics that say 2 + 2 will always equal 4, they treat that with the utmost suspicion.
Well,
and they don't like it. They don't like the fact that that could possibly always be true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, so I've been using 2 + 2 = puppies as a way to passively aggressively reference dumb blondes for at least 15 years.
I like that. That's pretty good.
So, like, somebody says something fucking stupid, and I'll look at them and go, 2 + 2 = puppies.
Well, yeah, and the reason that like we're using 2 + 2 specifically instead of 1 + 1 or any other trivial thing, it's because it comes from Orwell directly.
I know.
That's true. That's true. I still prefer 1 + 1 = 2 because Bertrand Russell put a lot of legwork into proving that 1 + 1 is always 2, regardless of your system. Because even with the systemic exceptions around 2 + 2, 1 + 1 = 2 is actually is a true math universal, and it's been proven beyond any question.
Yeah, for the people interested, I will share the link to this whole video. But James Lindsay does actually get into that because it turns out that James Lindsay is
he's a mathematician.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's great. He's really clever. My time talking to him, I was very impressed.
I still think A is A, or A = A is probably one of the most important and profound philosophical statements made looking at modern reality right now.
Yeah, well, A is A was Ayn Rand's central tenet. Because what we're facing now, it's not necessarily new. What we're seeing is kind of a modern extension of what Ayn Rand saw in the 50s and 60s when postmodernism was just starting. She saw it. She predicted all of that we would end up in this state. That's what Atlas Shrugged is. We're following Atlas Shrugged really close.
It's so unnerving.
I know. It's hilarious that we're bringing up Ayn Rand and George Orwell, which were like politically opposed, but this is why
citing James Lindsay in the middle of it all. Holy shit.
Well, all James Lindsay is doing is being the first conduit to, because we actually, like, there's plenty of people, like, we can think of YouTube personalities, we can think of like right-wing groups that just saw this and intuitively were just like, no, this is bullshit, right? Yeah. James Lindsay is just, I think he's the only person willing to stick his neck up and do the work to go through all the academic research and destroy them on their own terms, right? Not just as intuitive why it's bullshit, which is why we watched the Drunken Uncle video earlier, right? Where it's easy to just say this sounds like complete bullshit, but to understand their ideas, where they come from, how they come to their conclusions, and then, I hate using the word dismantle, but it really is dismantling it from the standpoint of what they're trying to start from, which is critical social justice. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of the problem is that a lot of people just haven't had the patience to it really is the ability to compartmentalize, to rationally and calmly break down an argument that is as stupid as systemic racism.
But I don't think, to be honest, I don't think these people are at a place of where they're even willing to discuss this shit. It's a done deal to them, and I think that the next step is obvious.
Yeah, like this brings me back. Like, so James Lindsay was like, people that promote this stuff, they don't want to talk to me about it. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, apparently Vaush and all his followers decided to dogpile on them, and he was like, sure, I'll talk to you. Give me like 50% of what you would make on a normal stream. And they're like, that's you backing out, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, I don't even think that's what James Lindsay was talking about. Like, Vaush is just some communist grifter that not even Vaush totally buys into this nonsense that we're talking about.
That's why you asked him to put up money.
Yeah, and also the other response too from this, Jeff Holiday actually kind of bought into a little bit, was to go after Lindsay's website, New Discourses, try to say, New Discourses is partially owned by some right-wing grifter guy, so therefore anything they post is immediately suspect. It's like, okay, sure, they might be owned. I mean, the guy who owns it might be, a serial killer. I don't care. That doesn't affect the true content of what James Lindsay is saying. That's not a refutation of his argument.
It's
That's
not
just-
as if
yeah,
James
man,
Lindsay is. You haven't proven that he's beholden to somebody else as far as filtering his beliefs.
I've listened to him talk enough, and talk about his own experience.
Really? Wait, fucking really? Hold on. Jeff Holiday tried to go after James Lindsay.
But no, Jeff Holiday someone else reported on about new discourses. Jeff Holiday put it on his stream, and talked about it. So that's just one example. Some other people have been spreading. So basically, someone did a hit piece on new discourses because of this, and then you have the usual suspects spreading around, including Jeff.
Well,
Holiday.
I'm sorry. I can't listen to anything Jeff Holiday says and take it seriously when the guy so badly misrepresents everything he's arguing against. He's just a straw man walking around with greasy hair. I mean,
I actually had a combo with him on his stream about the nature of punk. It was actually somewhat pleasant. I think he was trying to imply that he was trying to deprogram me, and I didn't want to make fun of him for that. It's good for a giggle, but I avoided mocking him for trying to imply that.
If anything's like a fucking cult, it's the woke mindset. It's oh my god, these are insane people we're dealing with.
I've never liked Jeff Holiday. I'm just going to tell you all right now.
I don't want to rag on nobody.
Well, no. When I heard him describe homeopathic medicine the way he did, and it was completely dishonest and was a direct, actual, complete misrepresentation of even the literary definition you go look up in the fucking dictionary. I realized I was watching somebody who just likes to hear himself talk. And I'm not here to rag on anybody. I'm just here to say, somebody who has an affinity for science, I find Jeff Holiday's method of discussing science to be offensive.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
he also used to be like super against this woke bullshit, and then all of a sudden he retreated back to the safe place of adhering to the woke bullshit.
Yeah, Sophane also likewise similarly made kind of a leftward bent. I think Wazlee and a few others. It's kind of it's someone actually was messaging me like, well, Shu and Armor Skeptic too. They've kind of gone more towards a hard left. Shu especially has gotten really kind of weird. But yeah, there does seem to be.
I saw that like for 2 years ago with her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's very soft on trans. The scientific stuff with like teenagers and shit. So she was, she's very soft on that shit.
Look, the worst part about all of this is, if these people were the liberals they said they were, then like me being a more very right libertarian person, you would have good arguments with each other. There's plenty of argument between us, but yet they're siding with this ideology that is explicitly anti-liberal, and they would disagree with me that I say it's explicitly anti-liberal, but I can pull from their own works, their own writings, as to how these ideas have manifested, about how these ideas are anti-liberal. Right. I don't have to make it up that it's anti-liberal. It's in the writings of what these ideas, like where these ideas came from.
Yeah, and I think now going back to the main topic with what James Lindsay's doing here, this shows us how dangerous it can be to just say, "Oh, that's stupid. No one will actually believe that," and leave it alone. And instead of analyzing it, confronting it, understanding it, trying to put it in the broader context of what the heck is going on here, because what this video also shows when he goes into Rochelle Gutierrez and what she's doing, it's scary. It's like the way that she's using this as a springboard to push, like I said, anti-math under the guise of math, and to just destroy it the same way that biology has been destroyed, the same way history and English have been destroyed. Like math was the last man standing, essentially, of the four cores, and now they've come for it. And he puts it in that context. It's like, it's why conservatives lost the culture war, because they were like, cartoons don't matter, movies don't matter, books don't matter, and well, now the politics as they go leftward is because politics is downstream of culture, and so by ceding the culture war, the conservatives slowly lost. And same here. If you just see 2 + 2 = 5, and you're like, oh well, that's dumb, I don't care about it, that's how you let them win. Because Rochelle Gutierrez is going out there. She's training math teachers as we speak. She's going out there to teacher colleges and training up and coming math teachers to believe this garbage. who are then going into schools and propagating it. She's going to school districts and teaching professionals. She's, I mean, oh man,
Well, if
I
they
think
don't
he's
teach it, they're racist, man. I mean, how can they not teach it? Right?
Yeah.
Well, on that note,
that's the
James
gun to
Lindsay
their
actually
head.
goes on to explain this for the portion of the video I want to watch. So
I was gonna
after
say
Krima
this.
speaks, let's go on. Let's move on with the video after.
I was just gonna say this is the reason we need to stop giving charity and saying, okay, well they can create a system that says 2 + 2 can sometimes equal 5, or we can change the value of 2. Because once you say the words change the value of 2, you're out of the range of 2, and we need to stop giving them that charity that James was talking about.
Well, I mean, how are they going to build buildings without math?
No. I think you missed a little bit. So I wasn't actually giving them charity. I was actually saying they're talking about something else.
But it's okay.
It ain't math.
And I think that's what it is that we have to make sure that we kind of have to step on this one really hard, because like Tyro just said, we really have let this go. We really have, as conservatives or free thinkers and liberals, and it's almost like it's a function of freedom and the libertarian right-leaning mindset of live and let live. You just kind of go, okay, man, do your thing over there, have fun. And unfortunately, it's led to what Tyro was talking about. And I think now we need to be able to walk up and just step hard, create our line in the sand, and just start walking on these things very hard, because I think we're going to lose our everything if we don't.
Yeah, helicopters and trebuchets. I agree with Enoy, trebuchets.
Pinochet did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
the trebuchets were my idea.
My mom grew up under Chiang Kai-shek, who was one of the other big right-wing dictatorships other than Pinochet. And yeah, if you were a communist, guess what? You got black-bagged and he executed you. And you know what? Taiwan turned out pretty damn good compared to mainland China. So yeah, we should go back to that. I mean, although Kamala Harris here is probably going to push us towards gulags in the other direction.
Holy fuck, that woman is terrifying. Let's not get on that one.
No, not gulags, re-education camps. Come on now, get it right.
Yes, that's true. Re-education camps, comrade. Yes, you must unlearn.
Attempt to remake our education systems, including our mathematics education, including math, the driest and most objective of all subjects, into critical social justice, activism, in place of whatever other subject, in this case math, would be taught. For a little further context, we can talk about that other activist, probably the lead theorist in all of this, Rochelle Gutierrez. Cherude respects and pays attention to Gutierrez. She openly is calling for a revolution in mathematics education and also in mathematics itself. And she's also openly calling for achieving this by using other mathematicians and math educators as accomplices. She had a paper published a couple of years ago in which she laid this out very explicitly. It even contains the idea of revolution in mathematics in the title. And what she wrote in that paper was, and I quote, "One thing that has been underscored from this attack is that we cannot create a revolution by ourselves. We need accomplices, not allies, in this work. That is, we need people who are willing to stand with us, around us, so that those who attack us will need to go through them first.
Enable us.
Having accomplices is different than having allies who support with solidarity, cheer loudly from the sidelines, or who safely stand on the sidewalk with their signs. Accomplices do what Dolores Huerta called for when organizing for the rights of Chicano farm workers. Quote, walk the streets with us into history, get off the sidewalk, end quote. Mathematicians are one group who are showing some promise in the arena of being our accomplices. Then, quoting from another source that she labels as Indigenous Action, an accomplice as an academic would seek ways to leverage resources and material support and or betray their institution to further liberation struggles.
She means enabler.
An intellectual accomplice would strategize with, not for, and not be afraid to pick up a hammer. So let me make very clear, that obviously the metaphor to the hammer refers to breaking things, but liberation struggles fits within a paradigm that is the neo-Marxist critical theory that I say is at the heart of critical social justice. So this all fits together, and this is an activist with some influence who is considered the kind of intellectual powerhouse despite having no degrees in mathematics. All of her degrees are in education. She has a university appointment. She's widely paid attention to by these other activists who have administrative level positions where they can actually influence educational policy.
To call her just a moron.
Rochelle Gutierrez is not that fringe, to quote another one of these activist educators, Lori Rubel.
Oh, what a disgusting human being. She's useless.
Yeah, so I mean, like the core of what James Lynch just said is this person that's writing the new mathematics education program for Seattle school districts is somebody that has no degrees in mathematics and instead just a few degrees in education, which are very, very different.
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry. It gives me heart palpitations because, like, you can't fuck with math. There's no way to fuck with math. Math is math. You could change the language. You can give it new symbols and whatever. A value. Two things are still two things. There's no way to change that. So it's like, I feel like I'm going to break out in hives and my teeth are starting to fucking itch. It's like...
Yeah, Tim, you were busting my balls again, saying I was being too charitable. I don't think I was. I think I wasn't necessarily. I was just trying to be maybe like a little bit devil's advocate as to you could see why this might make sense, but it doesn't. And I know you know that. I know you know it because I know you know it doesn't make.
That the sky is yellow.
No, I'm not. Like
yes. Yes, you are literally devil's advocating that the sky is yellow.
Yeah,
you're drinking a bad argument that will look yellow. You should agree that it's not a good argument, right? But we agree. But we're sitting here like we're talking about this idea that 2 + 2 = 4, and the reason I decided to make this like the name of the stream is 2 + 2 = pineapple is directly from what's coming from this video, because this is having real world effects, right? Like people that disagree with the idea that 2 + 2 = 4 is objective knowledge. They're writing the new mathematics curriculum for the school district of Seattle, which will probably be rolled out in Washington. And I think you're going to hear later on, which is also true, that the entire California state curriculum will also adopt this approach to mathematics.
So homeschooling still.
Yeah, definitely. Homeschooling is king. That's always been the case, but every year goes by, it becomes more and more the case.
Yeah.
Dude, Common Core, I saw this coming with Common Core, you guys, because once they started, you saw the descriptions, the descriptions of the steps.
Yeah.
The logic and reasoning was removed entirely, and they put in something else that was just no, it was non-consequential. It was none of it was an absolute of any sort, and you couldn't communicate math with your own children if they used Common Core. So that was the first mark to me that was like, oh hell no, my kids are never going back into the public education system.
Yep. Yeah. I saw the start of this when I got my last degree back in 2010 in math. I was lucky. I had like the last of what I call the old guard. Like I had a lot of my professors were in their 80s and 90s. One of them actually had Tom Lehrer was his college classmate.
Holy shit!
Yeah, they were friends. In fact, one of Tom Lehrer's songs on New Math was actually making fun of him because he was he apologized for it, but he was one of the early advocates of New Math. But he realizes now that was dumb. But Tom Lehrer made that song making fun of him, and he was always like, "Dang it, Tom! I wish I could hate you, but that song was awesome." But this is the old. I mean, so when I say old guard, I mean literally they were old, but they believed in math as a pathway, as giving insight into the splendor of the universe. Yeah. That kind of old school scientism, which has now fallen out of favor. But at the same time, I also had a couple younger professors in there who had a bit of an edge to them. One of the one who always stands out to me is there was one from Atlanta, black woman, no sense of humor, and she's the one who taught the diversity class, math and its impact on urban education, that kind of thing. And she was one of those early ones who liked the students who were talking about, what about ethnic math? I mean, they didn't call it ethnic math, but it was like that in that proto form of an idea back in 2010. And I'm surprised how much that's caught on so fast in only 10 years, because I saw that coming. I was like, yeah, this should take a while, though. I mean, mathematicians aren't really into this. It's like, I underestimated this a lot.
So real quick, one thing I just have to point out is true is I don't think most mathematicians, even like late in the stream, I think James, since he brings it up, most mathematicians though are not necessarily into this woke thing. They just don't disagree with it because it's their colleagues that are in academia that say like,
have you tried to live with these motherfuckers? Have you tried to work with these fucking people?
I mean, look at what they're doing now. You know, I mean, that's a direct outgrowth of what we're talking about, is what we're seeing with these rioting fucking 2-year-olds whining about the dumbest shit and burning shit up, saying it's reparations when I steal.
Well, yeah, and this goes back to what I'm saying. I think most people, like in college, that are teaching mathematics, most physicists that are teaching physics, like hard sciences, I don't think most of them are woke in the way we're talking about. I do think that they're definitely afraid to talk out, because what is happening is these people that promote these woke ideologies, they're in administrative groups in the university, and it creates a chill effect for people to possibly speak out against it.
Right.
That's why you have
they have to
Brett
vote.
Weinstein.
They vote on whether you get tenure or not. So, and if you say too much of the wrong shit, they won't give you tenure. It has to be a consensus with the department. They're the ones that decide that shit. Yes.
That's also why they're starting to get rid of tenure as well, because they don't want you to have, because that's one reason I am not a professor. I was going to be, but right around the time I was like, hey, you know what? I should give academia a go, get my PhD. Right around that time, the move towards adjunct faculty occurred, where they let the tenure expire, they don't renew it, and they replace them with adjunct faculty, which basically you make less than people who flip burgers an hour, and you're easy to fire. So by having that, you have an easy to fire academic force. So you say the wrong thing and you are out, and there is nothing you can do about it. And also by keeping it low income, they make sure that the only people who would even take it are those with no skills for anything else. So anybody with, which tends to be like conservative professors will tend to have other skills, so they don't become academics.
Right.
They're like, well, I can make more money doing something else.
They go into the private sector.
Private sector.
Yeah.
Right.
But Tyro, I think you're like the perfect person to be on the stream with us.
Yes.
But I do I think I said like we need to go to about 18.
Sorry.
So we have 5 minutes left on this video from James Lindsay. So let's get through the next 5 minutes.
Just can it and roll that
and
5.
and then after that, like we'll go back to these conversations we've been having.
I got another point, but I'll hold my tongue. Sure, I'll mute myself.
Lori Rubel was recently featured, I think, in Breitbart, talking about how she believes that mathematics is white supremacist. Lori Rubel came to the defense of Rochelle Gutierrez on Twitter in the midst of all of this fray. She said, to all the yuckos attacking Rochelle Gutierrez, she has inspired a generation or more of teacher educators and teachers, not to mention pushed our field with her scholarship. So we call your misogyny and racism. We will always stand with her. #TakeBackMath. This is actually a fairly prominent hashtag where apparently they're going to take back mathematics from white supremacy that has made it white and Western as they see it. So this all has been going on for over a month, with more and more people getting involved, including some storied mathematicians actually beginning to weigh in, mostly by using high-minded abstract concepts where they don't want to look wrong, and we'll kind of talk about that in a moment. First, we have the mathematician Keith Devlin, very well-known guy. He's writing for the Mathematical Association of America's blog, and has a very thoughtful piece where he explains that 2 and 2 never technically make 4, but there are lots of ways that, 2 and 2 never technically make 5, that it always equals 4, but there are lots of ways in which mathematics is more complicated than this very simple arithmetic. And so he kind of soft sides with them, but not really. I don't think he knows that he's in, maybe he does, but I don't think he knows that he's in the fight that he's in with all these activists doing as much as they're doing. And part of the reason I think that he doesn't realize this is because they went after him for his article. Our friend Laurie Rubel, again, went after him on Twitter quite recently and said, "I had similar concerns with your MAA blog post." And pardon the grammatical mistake here, but this is what she tweeted. "These are felt like a form of betrayal from supposed allies whose allegiance to math, which has no pulse, no heart, aka the master's tools, while we're trying to dismantle the master's house," heard through Audre Lorde. So to give you a little context on what this master's tools, master's house thing is, Audre Lorde was a black feminist, and in the, I think, early 1980s, it could have been the late 1970s, but I'm almost positive it was the early 1980s, Audre Lorde wrote this very famous piece called "The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House." This is obviously a metaphor to slavery, and basically she was making the case that the tools that built society as it is, this oppressive, apparently racist, white supremacist society, are not the tools that will dismantle it. She wasn't super explicit about what the tools are and aren't. She stayed very much in the realm of metaphor. But in 2017, another scholar, Alison Bailey, made it very clear that she's talking about the critical theory tradition, or at least that's how it's been interpreted since. The critical theory tradition draws off of neo-Marxism. This is something Bailey says very explicitly. It's to be distinguished from critical theory or thinking. It's a completely, critical theory and critical thinking are different traditions. And she says that the master's tools include things like soundness and validity of argument and epistemic adequacy, which is a fancy academic way to say knowing what you're talking about. So the claim then is that getting things right will never dismantle the society that we live in. So we have to step outside of the normal bounds of logic, the normal bounds, normal rules. And here we have Laurie Rubel quoting that theme to problematize Keith Devlin for more or less saying that we should focus on the mathematics and that 2 + 2 in the context we always understand it always equals 4, and therefore not taking the full-on activist line, even though he kind of softly leaned into it, which in the context of what Rochelle Gutierrez said about having accomplices is a very interesting situation. It seems like Dr. Devlin has been made into something of an accomplice, probably unwittingly. Another one who I'm almost positive is completely unwitting is the Fields medalist, Cambridge, Timothy Gowers. He decided to weigh in on this on Twitter. So a Fields Medal is the equivalent of a Nobel Prize, sort of, in mathematics. But instead of giving out a Nobel Prize, a Fields Medal every year like they do the Nobel Prize, they give out a Fields Medal every 4 years. So it's kind of an even higher honor. It's very difficult to get one. And Timothy Gowers has one, which means he's an excellent, excellent mathematician. So he came in with a thread saying that, 2 + 2 = 4, but if you fiddle around with what the symbols mean, you can actually get a different result. And he gave kind of a very contrived example of a addition operator where he described meetings with breaks built into them and then a break between the meetings, so that if you have 2 meetings back to back with a break between them, and there's the way the breaks are structured, that you could have 2 meetings plus 2 more meetings ends up equaling 5 total breaks. It's a little bit contrived. You can see the hidden 1 is the break in between. We won't jump too hard on Gowers. Turns out in his thread he decided to mention the trans issue for some reason connected to this.
Yeah.
And fell afoul of trans activists for this, and was fairly viciously attacked on Twitter for it.
You can actually stop this because you made it to the entire.
We're at 18 minutes, man. Fuck yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Dude, Atima, I
Okay,
love you because like you were talking about, like, God, that fucking charity, James. Why are you still doing it? Because you're just, it's like, here's the difference, I think, in thought, where I've been trying to adopt it, and I'm actually more inclined to be like you, because in reality, I believe what you believe.
I can't be charitable about it. I just can't. Okay, blonde in the belly of the beast is my spirit animal, guys. Okay, so don't like. Okay, you get it. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
For context,
awesome.
Matt Christensen does a stream every week with
Blondie
from, and they call it Blondie in the Belly of the Beast. It's a great stream. So you guys should
Beauty
check
and
it
the
out.
Beta is the name of their stream.
Yes.
Our Beauty and the Beta.
Yeah.
And
But
blonde is
her
my
channel
spirit
is
animal.
Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, and his channel is Matt Christensen. And together,
She lives right by Seattle.
yeah. But
So-
she used to.
What I was gonna say, what I was gonna say is, like, don't like I'm sitting here and I'm like trying to adopt the strategy of don't give them the inch, because if you give them an inch,
Well, take
here's
them
all
off.
the things that are gonna happen, right? And you're just like, fuck that inch, like, just stop it before the inch even happens.
Yeah. I think it's because I have kids and I can recognize unruliness that's going to get out of hand that you aren't going to be able to keep control over rather easily, because I've been outnumbered by my children for many years now. So, like, threat assessment is kind of a natural byproduct of parenting multiple children. And I know I sound like such a wonderful mom right now, don't I? But it gets rather easy to see how stupid, dumb shit somebody says offhandedly 6 months ago is now becoming some sort of canonic idea that is somehow sound in philosophy, but nobody can tell you how it's sound.
Right.
And I think we need to stop being nice to these people because they're doing retarded stuff. And if you have kids, you realize that you can't be fucking patient about it. You got to put a foot in it real quick, because if you don't, they're just going to go fucking nuts. And Portland is showing you exactly how nuts it goes when you let these people get away with shit.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I have like a good analogy back to children.
What do you mean these people?
I do.
What?
The critical social justice warriors. I know exactly what you're talking about. Actually,
Sorry,
the
y'all.
best thing James Lindsay did is categorize this ideology into what he calls
It's a
critical
cult.
social justice, because it's not critical theory.
Right.
We've talked about this before on our stream, right?
Mhm.
Like, Tyro, I don't think you've watched all our past streams. We understand the difference between what's happening now versus the Frankfurt School.
Right.
We also understand the difference between what's going on now versus the actual postmodernist. And what we have now is this new applied postmodernism that is also adopting principles from critical theory to make their new points and to create this new ideology.
Okay,
Which
great,
is
good.
like maybe third, like I would say maybe it's a third wave of post-Marxist ideology.
It's the reactionary, jilted lover sect of post-Marxism, where they're just mad that they didn't get what they wanted, and now they just want to burn everything down because they didn't get what they wanted.
Yeah, and it's still being fueled by you, because you still have those people from the 70s, like BLM's top moneymaker, the Weather Underground. And Bill Ayers, the reason Bill Ayers became an education professor was so that he could push his ideology. So he's also has a hand in some of this in terms of grooming some of these people. I don't know if he has any ties directly to Rochelle Gutierrez, but
I know he has ties to Obama.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of thinking that Bill Ayers has been promoting, that he's tried to make respectable, that he's tried to invite to conferences and things like that. The conference scene in education is very incestuous. The people who run it are very, very carefully curate who they let in the door. You have to say the right things. So the fact that Rochelle Gutierrez does a lot of conferences means that she is heavily endorsed by the elites who run a lot of the education and teacher training.
Ugh. The really bad people. The Dolores Umbridges of the world.
Yes, there are so many of those out there. You have no idea. I mean, Voldemort's a cool villain. Dolores Umbridge, when I was watching that with one of my exes, and she noticed, like, hey, every time Dolores Umbridge is on screen, like, you always like squeeze my arm really tight. I'm like, oh, sorry, I just get like she plays directly towards the anger centers of my brain.
Yeah.
Because I knew people like her. Oh my god.
I think.
Yeah, me too.
I think one thing, and this is why I think Tim and Irate both became interested in this subject, that I'm pretty sure you understand, Tyro, is how we have this new ideology they're changing the definitions of words.
Yeah.
And I really focus on that because that's what makes it so easy for people that I would say were like generally like rational people to just hear something like, X, Y, and Z was racist, not understanding that this version of racism that they're talking about is a version of racism that is straight out of this postmodernist theory.
It's this bizarre bastardization of what racism actually is.
Where like disparity is happening, and anybody that doesn't agree with us is racist. Like, that's really what it boils down to, right? If you happen to sit there and disagree that the reason for disparity across all races is anything other to do with racism,
Then systemic racism.
then you are racist. Any alternative hypothesis for why disparity exists is wrong. Like, it has to be racism.
Yes, it is only racism. It has only been racism. We've always been at war with Eurasia. I understand. I agree completely. It's the redefinition of racism to include institutional power, just so they can justify their hatred of white people or white civilization and so on. Like, I don't even like using the term white per se, because white is so granular and balkanized. It's not very accurate. That's also why I don't like calling them anti-white, because it feels like if you say they're anti-white, you're playing their game by using their term.
I don't agree with that at all. I mean, actually, I agree with what you said, but I don't agree with the idea of anti-white because, we need to circle back to what the actual liberal tradition would say. We try to de-emphasize the importance of these characteristics.
Yeah,
and I think that's very important. Yeah,
because they're immutable.
Think
There's
about
nothing
that.
you can do about them.
And we decided to make the best rules based on, what we can do that is universal to everybody, right? We don't look at people in these groups of you're black and you're white. And furthermore, I just have to point out that in critical social justice, black people like Thomas Sowell or Glenn Lowry, they're not black.
Yeah,
they are actually problematic. They get pushed out of it because in critical social justice, black is this. They actually recategorize people into these explicit groups where they all have the same ideology, and their lived experience coincides with what it means to be black. So anybody that happens to have black skin and does not fall within that is not part of the black identity group for critical social justice.
If you don't vote for Biden, you ain't black. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
which is horribly offensive on its face, because what are mixed race people like us supposed to do, Tyro?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I've been called a fake Asian because I'm not Democrat. Like, I've actually had, and this is a while ago. I've had people arguing that Asians clearly have to vote Democrat because Republicans hate us. I'm like, no, that's not really my experience.
You're also an Asian, so you're a good minority.
Well, no, he's only
right?
half.
You're a model.
Well, depending on how Asian he looks, he may not be called Asian half the time. He may just be called a white guy, because one of the most new favorite derogative terms is, you're just white passing.
Technically, he's a hopper.
Nonetheless, you're at least half model minority.
Right. Asians are evil because we disprove pretty much every argument about black racism suppression, because most Asians are obviously Asian, but we succeed despite this quote-unquote systemic racism. We disprove Asians as a category, largely disprove systemic racism, period. In fact, most of the actual systemic racism is aimed at Asians because, like, we just had the thing with Yale. Well, yeah, it turns out if you're Asian, Yale doesn't want you. Same with California. Same with all the Ivy. Like, we've known for decades that Ivy League.
There's actually words within critical social justice to describe you, which is model minority, right? Like that's a term that they apply to Asians.
Yeah. The
other thing that you're doing is you're acting white.
Oh yeah. I've seen that. I've seen some black people do that to each other. It's like if someone tries to speaks well or act smart, they say, "Oh, you're acting white." And it's a derogatory term. It's like so. Acting white has a connotation of being civilized. Yeah. So acting white applied to black people is basically Uncle Tom, right? It's an interchangeable term.
Correct.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why I don't like using anti-white. I like saying anti-civilization because they're not attacking what's an essence of whiteness. Because I brought up China before in the discussion, and the reason is because if you bring up Chinese civilization, it disproves a lot of their quote-unquote Western-centric. A lot of the arguments they have about this, that, and the other is it's all from the West. It's all colonization. This is unique to Europeans, and therefore it is evil because it was forced on us. Well, no, because if you look at China, they developed it too independently of European influence. So, like the whole math thing, yeah, China developed that too. The whole thing about, like, if you look at the Smithsonian,
you can go back to the Aztecs, right? The Aztecs, the Chinese, the Egyptians, right? They all came up with basically the same math in a different language.
Yeah,
but once you would hear from the translation, like you realize they're talking about the same thing.
Roughly, yeah. And so the arguments that they're doing, the concepts that they're attacking, especially with this 2 + 2 = 4 argument, this is the most naked that I've seen it. There's just one reason that got my hackles up, but what they're attacking is not a basis of whiteness or white supremacy. What they're attacking is the basis of civilization itself. It goes back to, when China developed the axioms of geometry around like 330 BC or so. Like that's how far back this goes. They're attacking civilization from before Christ when they start attacking principles like this. They're attacking the ancient Greeks and all of that. And it's like, my God, do you have any idea how far, like, you're trying to put us back to the Stone Age with this garbage? It's ridiculous, and the thing is, they may succeed, which is even worse.
Well, not the Stone Age, but pretty much like the Dark Ages. It'll be 1,000 years of just of horrible shit, and no progress.
Tyro, everything you just said is the reason why I decided to start a stream about this.
Well,
I'm so anti-charitable.
Yeah, and it's stuff like this that got me onto YouTube to begin with back in 2018, before YouTube deleted my channel because I say the wrong things.
Yeah, like I'm trying to be very specific with this, and I know a lot of it's because like we covered all the basics back on like the first few streams on my channel and the first few streams on iRate channel. But like I don't think there's enough people talking about this in the context that is not just simply doing like let's say the video we played by Drunken Uncle saying how this is ridiculous by any rational logic. But also just being like, we're going to pull from their actual like words and understand what they're saying from their own fucking words and make fun of it.
Well, let's see. I'm having a hard time with the 2 + 2 = 5 thing. I'm tired of everybody being so fucking charitable about this one, because this would be an absolute hard line in the sand. No, you fucking idiot. There's no way to make this possible when you can just go grab 4 fucking rocks and everybody can show you how wrong you are when they throw 2 at a time at you, you fucking idiot. It's like,
No, Tima, you are 100% correct. 100%. Like James Lindsay, like towards the end of the stream, like the last parts that we didn't watch, which is I think Tyro, I think you watched that whole thing, right?
Yeah, I was there at the premiere.
So you get how like the last fucking hour and a half of that 2-hour stream is him like actually addressing why it's mathematically problematic. And like, yeah, maybe like if you do very specific redefinition of terms, like in modular math, I think is one he said, like you could come up with it.
Yeah, he does. He goes over two additional fields. Yeah, he goes over the math part, and he also goes into how did we get here, and he goes very in depth about Rochelle Gutierrez and some of the others about who they are, what they've done, and how this has become a thing.
Well, yeah, and all those like those highbrow, like very specific ideas on mathematics, where you're like doing like modular math and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm talking about 2 + 2. He goes into very specifically why, like, we're not even talking about the same thing here, right? They're literally trying to disprove the idea that 2 + 2 = 4 is some objective truth. And they're trying to use things where you might have a system where 2 + 2 = something else, but you're not using the symbols the way that everybody would understand, right? Yeah. Like, before you even get there, you have to say, like, look, we're not talking about
actual
number
math.
2. Yeah, we're not talking about, like, well, maybe it could be actual math in a way, like it could be actual math.
Charitability,
like,
where it doesn't belong.
Yeah, well,
no. Once again, it's more like charitability where it doesn't belong. You're right, but actually, no, you're so right that don't give charitability just because there's certain systems in mathematics that know 2 + 2 doesn't like always = 4.
Yeah,
right.
Like
everybody that studies that knows 2 + 2 = 4, and they're using a different notation system to talk about something completely different than what we really think about when we're talking about 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah. Well, here's one that some you might actually run into in K through 12, where 2 + 2 doesn't always = 4. Taxi cab geometry, because of the pathfinding in it, 2 + 2 doesn't always = 4. Now, I know enough math that I know the cases where 2 + 2 doesn't always = 4. But the key is, and one thing that Lindsay points out with the accomplices, is that when Kareem Carr or Devlin there talk about and try to defend that position, that's not the point. That they're being useful idiots. What they're doing when Kareem Carr and Devlin step in is they are giving an air of respectability that the Biswell are using to hide them. It's very much the Biswell game plan, which is
exactly
enter an institution, skin it, devour from the inside, wear it as a pelt to give yourself respectability, and then basically just crap all over its legacy, and then wonder why nobody respects you anymore.
And what you just said is exactly how, like, we're getting off topic about, like, there are those situations where, like, you're talking about taxicab math, but taxicab math is not saying that the Arabic numeral 2 with the traditional plus operator +2 = 4 is not true, right?
Yeah,
there's other things going on. Like, it's a completely different system they're operating on,
right?
And that's like, it's so far is skipping the entire point of what they're trying to do, which is
that's what they're abusing the charitability part. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So giving them the charitability is allowing them to abuse you in ways they shouldn't be able to.
Right. Well, yeah, and they're trying to introduce ethnic math studies, not based on these crazy situations where you might have a place where you're studying a certain version of mathematics in a very, very certain context, saying that 2 + 2 will not always = 4, but only based on all these other caveats that are incredibly important to point out, right? That's not what these people are trying to disprove. They want to disprove the idea that there's any objective standard for what 2 + 2 would equal.
Well, but Tyro put it in the chat already that she wants to use plants and rocks to learn how to do math, but we already used plants and rocks to do math. That's how we got math.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's
turns
something
out if we gather 2 rocks from someplace, we gather 2 rocks from some other place, and all we care about is counting the number of rocks, it's always going to be 4 rocks.
No. See, she wants us to do troll math. 1, 2, many lots. See, That's
Oh.
okay. And, now, one of the other point I wanted to talk about was
So it's Instagram faxes.
yeah, because you were referring to the charitability, and I think a large chunk of it with finding the useful idiots is naivete. I think when Carr and Devlin step in, and yeah, as you discussed, Excel, when they say, "Hey, look at these instances where 2 + 2 isn't always 4," yeah, then the people like Rochelle step in and say, "Look, 2 + 2 isn't equals 4. Therefore, all of math is subjective. We can say anything we want. Any equation is equally good epistemological anarchy."
Yeah,
Now,
and
so why?
that's where the problem comes. Is
Yeah.
exactly what you said. The problem comes is whenever they're trying to say that like there's no such thing as subjective truth, which is a core tenet of everything going on with
It's
critical
reality.
justice.
Yeah. But the thing that we need to think about is, so why do the useful idiots, why do they step in? Because we mentioned that, yeah, math and STEM people are not inclined towards fervent wokeness because they operate in areas of reason. So these aren't going to be your zealots pushing wokeness. So why do they go along with it? And I think a part of it, what we see with guys like Carr, because Kareem Carr, like I was reading his Twitter feed, he seems like a genuinely nice guy. Like I could probably sit down and have dinner with him and talk math stuff, and probably have a good time.
Hold on, I have to pause you a little bit because we didn't get to that part of the video. So James Lindsay was arguing with Kareem Carr about 2 + 2 = 5. Kareem Carr he came up with a whole bunch of really bad examples. He also got a lot of shit from people that I think he was trying to side with politically. But at the end of the day, he just said 2 + 2 = 4 is basically a true statement. And
that's a big bad no-no.
He got a lot of shit from other people just for not completely adhering to this idea that everything is subjective. So he's not completely. He certainly has these sympathies where he wants to be part of the woke crowd, but he didn't know all the rules and failed and got more criticism from the far left than he ever would have from the far right.
Oh, someone's asking for a Discord invite in the chat.
It's Red Foreman.
Oh.
Yeah,
no problem.
It's Red Foreman.
It's Red
Foreman. The other, let's see. Yeah, and I think because with Carr, the reason I say Carr is naive as opposed to evil is because in the same thread where he was talking about it, he also says, "Hey, I love reason and rationality. I love the Greek classics. I am all for objective truth and so on." And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So he's not a bisexual. He's not for subjective and all that. In fact, that's why they slammed him, because someone who believes in objective truth will always be their enemy, even if they're temporarily putting up a smokescreen.
Look, the whole naivete thing that you brought up, I think that's a big weapon that they use to force people to, even if they don't understand or adhere to it, at least keep their mouths shut and set themselves aside to the critical social justice agenda.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons that happens is because of one of the other four horsemen, which was silos, which was in academia, we separated each of the traditions from each other. So if you're a STEM major, you're not necessarily going to be taking philosophy courses. You're not going to understand the broader context or the broader implications of what you study. So you're going to know science, but you're not going to know about why wokeness is bad. You're not going to understand why postmodernism is horrible, because you're not going to get those courses. And the people who do are going to be taught that it's great, and they're going to shove that down your throat. So lacking any kind of philosophy.
There's a
Discord link. I just wanted to let Red know and hop in the green room and we'll yank you in.
There's a way more evil thing about what you just said, Tyro, which
lay it on me.
No, I'm just saying, I find it evil, which is you have groups they obviously get into these administrative roles that are silencing people that are, maybe they're just mathematicians, right? They're apolitical in almost every way. But if they possibly ever opposed or spoke out against what the critical social justice narrative is, they're going to be like punished in some form, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's via actual administrative action or just some sort of what would it be like belittling of them socially.
Yeah.
Right.
There
They're
would
gonna
be some social ostracization. That's for sure.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
seen it.
like-
Quillette, just here. Let me try to find it. Quillette actually just ran an article from a guy, biologist, who actually ran into that exact same. And plus, of course, we have one of the better known examples, Aiden Paladin. I mean, there you go. She ran into that firsthand as well.
Well, yeah, and just recently, like Deborah So went on a book tour, and she was going around talking about gender, which is something we haven't discussed on this channel yet. I want to get to it, but it's a much harder conversation to have than the racism argument.
Well, there's just so many people that want to come in and derail it because I'm female. There's
Wait,
like
what?
7 or
Yeah, it
no,
might look
seriously.
like Tyro.
There's 6 or 7
Tyro.
people that would love to come in and just derail it and turn it into a troll stream. It's very hard to do gender discussions these days. Everybody wants to turn it into a fucking troll.
Tyro would actually be a good person to have on that, and also, Tyro, don't get me wrong, but
Red, click on
you've been in a relationship with a transgender
green room.
woman, right?
Yeah. Low, yeah.
Yeah, and like you can still have that and understand that like it doesn't make this new critical social justice idea of gender true. In fact,
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways it discredits the
It
real
devalues the work that they're doing.
people that are actually transgender, like people that have real gender dysphoria, which I'm not saying like I have a problem with that, but they want to flip their gender, right? This idea, it puts it on all on a spectrum, and you have these non-binary people. Like those people are fucking assholes, right?
Yeah.
There's real people that have like a real like disconnect between their body and gender.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you
I
have
mean,
these other people that are just being like, well, you know what? I don't actually disagree with what my body says, but I'm going to be an asshole and say,
Get attention.
no.
yeah. Well,
I'm
remember,
gonna be an asshole and be like, well, I don't conform to gender norms, so
Yeah, well-
obviously there's something different about me.
yeah. Well, Lo will be the first one to point out that there's a huge difference because she's intersex, which is her thing. So, and there's a huge difference between that and the what we call the autogynophiles. That's the appropriate name. So, an autogynophile is a man who gets a mental disorder where they want to become what they are attracted to. This was observed in as early as the 70s.
Autogynephilia, yep. Deborah
it's,
talked about that for a long time too. Like,
Okay,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's fundamental, like cross-dressing stuff. So, but what we have right now is people being pushed essentially into that, but also you have people being brainwashed, like tomboys and butch lesbians are pushed into becoming trans men. Like, and it's bad enough tomboys get pushed into being lesbians when they may not be. So, but now butch lesbians now getting pushed into trans men, and that's a huge problem societally. Plus, you have all kinds of other conditions like schizophrenia, borderline personality, and autism being quote unquote treated by saying, "Hey, you've got gender dysphoria." No, they don't. Oh my God, stop! But yeah, Lo is some of the most funniest anti-trans jokes I know are from Lo-Fi. Like Lo-Fi shares with me a ton. So yeah, I'm well aware of that whole can of
Sarah,
worms.
did you see that in L.A., I believe it was, at a juvenile delinquent facility, a kid was treated because of his aggression with estrogen treatment.
That works.
And he grew
Women are
tits.
so passive. Women are so passive, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, every day we get closer to Sam Hyde's TED Talk about state-enforced homosexuality. I mean, we're getting closer because, now if you go into a facility, they'll input you into an estrogen and essentially turn a guy into a gay female.
It worked so well on Hitler. Let's do it again, guys.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, no, I saw that. I did hear about that. And yeah, that's horrifying. Here in Texas, we've got the Jeffrey Younger case.
Oh, God.
that just reverted back. I don't know if you guys have talked about that yet, where, you know, the old judge, she was okay. She actually went against the jury and was like, yeah, no, the mom and dad need to work together and they have equal rights over the kids. Fix this. And then they tossed that judge out, replaced her with a new one, and now the new one, without even a hearing, just comes and says, nope, mom gets to do anything she wants. Suck it, dad. You're out. And you got to pay for everything too. So now you got to pay for the kids' therapy. Mom gets to determine their education. Mom gets to do whatever treatment she wants to the kid, and the dad is financially obligated to pay. And I know Chambers was talking about it. She thinks that in September the judge is going to shut down the GoFundMe and the page for him too, do the gag order that the mom has been wanting for a while. So no, I'm aware of this sort of thing. It's nightmarish. But that would be
so when is Greg Abbott going to step in? Because that's literally what he's supposed to do.
We don't know. People have asked him to, but we don't know why he doesn't want to either. Because it's like, dude, this is literally playing to your base. Why aren't you doing this? Yeah, I don't know. I want him to, but anyway. But yeah, this is definitely getting off topic. But yeah, no, a gender discussion would be awesome. I mean, we could discuss all the horrors of women. I'm well aware of the horrors of females. That's why I don't date.
I'd actually be down to tackling that next week.
Yes, I would only recommend maybe keeping Penoid away from it.
He's not the only one I was thinking of. I can think of at least 8 people off the top of my head. If they get involved, holy shit, you talk about a train wreck.
Well, Turd Flinging Monkey would be another one. I'd be like, maybe have him on later on.
No.
I mean, I like. Don't be wrong.
I will leave. I will leave if TFM shows up.
Yeah. Don't be wrong. I like Penoid, but.
Yeah, hold on. Like, me too, right? I love Penoid, actually. I'm friends with him. I streamed with him for, years.
Yeah. There are certain topics where he will go on and on and on.
I wasn't thinking of Tom. I was thinking of, 3 other people. So
well, specifically, Tom P. wants to focus on things that are more grounded in reality. This particular stream is just based on all we want to talk about is things that are coming out of this
intellectual aspect of it.
Ideology, right? We want to make sure people understand where this is coming from, because I think there's a huge disconnect. Even whenever we played the video from Drunken Uncle earlier, where he made fun of it and he did a good job of doing it, but everything that woman was saying in this the video that Drunken Uncle was making fun of is completely consistent with critical social justice ideology.
I agree.
From start to finish. And I think there's a place for people like us to understand and explain to other people, this isn't coming out of a vacuum. It's not just crazy nonsense. There's this real push in academia to promote this ideology. And this is what is informing people to think the way that the woman Drunken Hole was making fun of think.
Yeah, how you doing, Irate?
Oh.
All right. It's all up on the mic. So we're talking about the lunatic left today.
Well, we're talking about the lunatic academia left.
So that's about all the lunatic left, but okay.
We're just talking about the ones that get paid extra money to teach our kids. We're talking about a specific subset of them.
Oh, it's okay.
The real swindlers.
Yeah. So, it's I don't know if you guys have touched on it yet. It's the redefinition of words also has a lot to do with this too. The whole 2 + 2 = whatever you want. Because when you redefine words, you can make things you want it to mean to fit your agenda.
Not only did we touch on that, but in past episodes, we actually talked about how they have this very Derridian idea of language, which is that language itself is a social construct that is in and of itself, the way it's constructed is to promote the current power structures of today, which is bullshit. but it is absolutely something that these people believe.
Well, yeah, it's like the redefinition of the word racism. It now is construed just to be white people. Well, they're the only ones that can be racist.
Right. It's
Real
the whole
quick.
institutional power thing.
Right.
Yeah, I understand what Red Foreman is saying, but like I'm getting a whole lot of like rolling static with every word he says. Am I alone?
Yeah, there's a lot of pop.
Is there? All right, give me a second.
Sometimes, yeah, microphones are assholes sometimes. They're bastards.
No, what happened? What fucking happened is yesterday another goddamn Windows update came through, and it fucked up everybody's sound settings. Like I caught it and fixed it before we streamed today.
Well, that's why I use Windows 7. No updates. Aha.
Ugh, I wish I had a choice. When you upgrade your motherboard and your chipset and everything, they don't let you keep your Windows 7 package anymore.
Oof.
But I got a better computer. I could like play 3 games at once, run Discord, and stream with people at the same time if I wanted to. I'm not gonna, but I could. Well, maybe I will when I move, but not while I'm here because our fiber is really unstable. Gender, you were talking about tomboys. Interesting thing, I'm a tomboy and my middle daughter is a total and complete tomboy. She even likes to wear like men's button-up shirts and cargo shorts and men's jeans and stuff. And she never heard anything about being a tomboy until we came to Washington and Oregon. And suddenly now she's had 5 or 6 different people tell her she's trans.
Yeah, they like to do that. It's actually part of grooming too, because the if you ever dig more into the history of the LGBT movement, it's pretty horrifying. Well, one book I recommend everyone read is The Last Closet by Moira Graylin. She actually she's the daughter of Marion Zimmer Bradley, who wrote Mists of Avalon. And Marion Zimmer Bradley, in case people didn't know, was a staunch advocate of pedophilia and molesting children so they turn out gay. She did it to all her children. And in fact, the Mists of Avalon was explicitly written to promote pedophilia, among other things.
Which is weird, because all it did was to encourage me to go look at the actual literature, because half of it didn't make any fucking sense as a pagan.
Yeah, the reason it didn't make sense is because it was written as a basis of philosophy. Marion Zimmer Bradley ties together a lot of the second wave feminism plus the LGBT push, because even though she was married to a guy and she had sex with men, she identified as a lesbian. Go figure. But she was a second wave feminist, part of the LGBT group, as well as a pro-pedophile. And the thing they don't like talking about is that whole pedophile thing was a really big chunk of both the sexual revolution and the LGBT scene in that 60s and 70s. They buried it after, like in the 80s, when the crackdown started on the pedophile groups. That's when they abandoned it, but they only abandoned it because the law was coming for them. In the 60s and 70s, there was open advocacy for pedophilia and lowering the age of consent, or abolishing the age of consent. Those
I
are
remember that.
Yeah, it's
I
all
remember
from
those talks.
Yeah, Berkeley, California. I mean, there's actually Samuel Delaney, who is a sci-fi writer. He's I think former head of NAMBLA, or at least a big supporter of NAMBLA. I forgot whether he was actually in charge of it or just a big supporter of them. But he's still doing his thing, as far as I know. Like, he's celebrated by the Sci-Fi Writers Association and all that stuff.
Still?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Sam Delaney is pushed as they just had a thing where it's like, hey, instead of pushing these old white males like Robert Heinlein or Isaac Asimov or Arthur C. Clarke, instead of pushing them, we should find alternatives to push. And so 2 of the names of people they want to push are Marion Zimmer Bradley, even though we all know she's a pedophile and child molester, like they're still pushing her, and Sam Delaney. So it's like, what?
So every piece of shit in
Oh.
What? What does that have to do with Lovecraft?
Well,
What does that have to do with Lovecraft, dude?
Well, I mean, Lovecraft is race neutral. I mean, you could make every character in a Lovecraft
The
story
mad
black.
Arab, and you're gonna
Still
talk about racism?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no shit. Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
had my mic turned off, so nobody sitting out there heard what I said. But hey,
Hey,
Oh.
that's him, irate Tyro. First off, Tyro, thanks for joining in. Like, your insights have been incredible, actually.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad
Irate,
I didn't ramble too much.
was it like Irate and Atima? Love you guys as always, but I'm gonna bounce out of here. But I don't think that's a reason to end the show because you guys are still talking, and Red Toxin is still trying to get his mic to work.
yeah, we're gonna have to
Excel wants to
pick
go
this
play
up
WoW.
later. I'm gonna have to pick this up later myself, so I'm gonna stop the stream.
Okay.
Because there's a couple of things I got to do before EZQ gets home. So,
All right.
you know what I'm
So
saying?
Is this every
So you're
Saturday
with
night?
me. Yeah, every Saturday night we're talking about this, and
Oh, wow.
our main focus is going to be on critical social justice. I know tonight was a little bit more loosey-goosey, which it's going to have to be because I think we've already explained the basics
we've
in
gone
prior
through the
streams.
course.
So if you don't know, like, check out the prior streams on our Rage
Yeah, I
channel
will.
called Accelerated Deconstruction. And if you want to go further behind that, before Irate decided he's going to pick this up on his stream, we've been doing it on my channel.
Oh, okay.
So just
I need to see if YouTube still has me subbed to you.
yeah,
Yeah, that's always a good look. Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
people check your check your subscriptions and make sure that you're still subscribed to everybody here and me, because YouTube is now just arbitrarily
Unsubscribing
unsubbing
you.
people. Right.
Yeah.
So
They're
Well,
doing
and
it
I've
to
also-
everybody.
I also haven't completely killed my channel. I've been doing it for after talks for this particular stream, and I'm not going to be able to do it tonight. But it is really like just kind of a more freeform after talk. And the reason I decided to do that is, Atima, Irate, you both can agree. We have gotten into situations where we're like 2 hours in, and we're still
like a quarter of the way through.
yeah.
yeah,
We're like a quarter of the way through. We haven't been able to invite anybody in to talk about it. So,
Have you
and
done
that's
a,
kinda how it goes with this stuff.
Have you done a read along of White Fragility yet? Because I have a
No.
copy.
We haven't done a read along.
Oh,
but
little
we
Robin
have
D.
Robin D.
little Robin D, man, the fucking
Actually,
whore of Babylon.
Yeah,
The
actually,
Whore of Babylon, dude. Like the.
I'm gonna take a few minutes because somebody
My
from my
nickname.
World of Warcraft guild.
Told ya.
Yeah, somebody from my World of Warcraft guild. I shared the stream link to him. I don't know if he's in here watching. I don't think he is. But he really wanted to watch it because there was this super Bernie bro chick that was in our guild, and she was incredibly adamant, and she also followed like the whole critical social justice thing. So she had no problem just flattering to like 40 people that just want to play fucking World of Warcraft her ideas on politics when it came up. And of course, the people that agreed with her just agreed with impunity. And that's when the guild made a rule to just be like, no politics on stream.
I can go another 15 minutes,
No
everybody.
politics in guild.
Okay.
But I talked to her like it was a week before Super Tuesday, and she tried to come in because she knew that I was an adversary of her when it came to politics about the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing. And I was just like, seriously, like that was a fucking goddamn struggle session. Like, what did you want the FBI to find? Like, there was like nothing. Like, it was like the thinnest accusations
She
possible.
literally made that shit up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
she did. She just pulled it
Yeah,
out of her
no.
fucking ass.
Exactly.
No, and that's what I said. It's like, it's really so hard to believe it's somebody being an asshole moving there in high school. And I was like, no, it's not that hard to believe. and it's also irrelevant, and also there's no way to prove anything that you're trying to say about guy against him. You guys
Yeah.
Carl just accused you of being homosexual. Excel.
But then, you think I'm gay?
Yes.
I wish.
Happy,
wish.
happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy,
God
happy,
damn,
happy.
dude. I wish, man. My life would be so much easier if I could just fuck dudes. I can't, though, because I'm not attracted to men.
You can just identify as being gay and still sleep with women. That's what that woman does.
What I should do is identify as a trans woman that refuses
to get the pecker.
Yeah, like but I'm also
grow tits,
my own body,
or wear makeup,
and I'm a lesbian. Right, so I'm a trans woman.
I've literally been saying this since 1980. I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body, and it's always been a joke, but now it's true. So I'm owning that. All right.
Yeah, we can make.
I'm coming
your
out
story
here
and stick
on this
to it.
show right now. I am truly a lesbian trapped in a man's body. I feel so much. I've unburdened myself. This feels
I have
so
something
light.
horrible to say, and I'm not going to say it because I love you, Irate, and I don't want your channel to get deleted.
Red. Hey man.
Yeah.
All right, you're sounding a lot better.
All right, yeah, I'm using a noise suppression AI app, and I had it set up wrong. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's still kind of
You're
crumbling.
still gargling.
Still
I wonder
gargling.
what's going on
It's
with
crackled.
that. What kind of a mic is that? If you don't mind me asking.
I got
A what?
It literally sounds like you're gargling salt water and trying to talk to us at the same time.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll pull myself here.
Okay. So you're just to get
Not
more
busting
info,
balls, dude.
Excel. So this is every Saturday is when you have the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
8
what
p.m.
time?
Central.
8 o'clock your time.
Okay.
All right, is that any better?
I'll get people on Central.
It's still a struggle, brother.
Jesus Christ, I hate Discord. It's cancer.
Now it
not a
sounds like a
word.
Discord problem.
A
Now it
Windows-
sounds like a Discord reverb.
Yeah.
Look, a Windows update happened. Most likely, you're gonna have to go to your Windows sound settings and reduce yourself back to whatever percentage you usually had it at, which it blasts me to 100% every fucking time.
Yeah,
It puts me on
I'm like,
88%.
Oh, see, that's clearer.
yeah, that's because I'm not talking out loud.
Oh, so it
I
fucks
just
your
didn't
game.
want to-
Got it.
It's a game.
But yeah, Tyra, we do this every week, and we try to, like I said, we try to stay focused on topics that have to do with critical social justice, and not try to be like political necessarily.
Right.
We're talking about like, oh, I'm super pro Trump, or I'm like super just
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like, our main opposition is critical social justice, and in fact,
Okay.
I wish we knew more liberals, like left wing type people. That
I
could
mean, I
make
know
me
a
feel like
bunch.
how it's
I
ruined.
know a bunch. I just don't know if they're going to be willing to do streams. I mean, Sua's.
Yeah.
I know a bunch.
Yeah. The main one I know is Kadant, but she doesn't really like talking about the theory, or she's not super knowledgeable about the theory. Like, she supports Black Lives Matter, sort of, but only certain parts of it. But she doesn't like talk about it because it's stressful.
We had memes of destruction on last week, and he came into my like little after stream, and he had mixed feelings because he's understandably like he has that liberal instinct.
He's a
and I
Boston
say that
Yankee,
liberal,
man.
like,
He's
I know what you
Boston.
mean.
well, he has that instinct of just being like, I believe in the other, right? Like, and I support the other, and I just have this idea that I don't want to pin them into this crazy ideology that everybody that's sitting there in these Black Lives Matters protests are people that would disagree with me on these other issues. And I think that's true. Like, it's not necessarily incorrect that I think a lot of people that say like they're Black Lives Matter protesters and they support it, I don't think they all agree with everything that the broader, like the leadership of Black Lives Matter would say. But at the same time, I don't think that people like memes understands that it's almost like there's a capitalized Black Lives Matter and there's this lowercase Black Lives Matter. And the lowercase version, nobody can argue with. This uppercase version has a whole bunch of bullshit attached to it.
It's a political party, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. The instant you start
literally
saying that the nuclear family is a problem and it's only white people that have them,
Mhm.
I'm going to kick you in the face.
I've actually developed a counter argument to the assertion of Black Lives Matter, the lowercase one, but it's not a case of like, and it's not a racism part either. It actually goes towards what it kind of implies as a philosophical concept.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But
I have a deep cynicism that no lives matter. But that's like that's one of those things where like I don't want to talk about shit like that on this stream per se.
Yeah.
Like maybe like after streams.
Well,
I want to
yeah,
see
yeah. There's the
on
nihilistic,
what is coming out of the mouths of critical social justice warriors, and how we can explain to your normal person that, like, I know you're hearing this constantly, and it's not what you think it is.
Right.
And that's important for almost everybody. I don't
There's
care
a
if you're
difference
like,
between equity and equality.
Yep.
That's a sneaky one they snuck in years
Yeah.
ago, and it's always bothered me.
Yeah. Equity is annoying.
And
But,
what's interesting, when people use the term equity, what Peter Boghossian said, he said, ask them why they don't use the word equality. Right?
Mhm.
Because it's an insincere argument that they're making with you, right? Or a
Yes.
concession. And then once you get them in that, put them on that back foot, it's an interesting deconstruction that they have to do and admit things. So I don't know. It's,
I'm just going to reiterate something we said several times on the stream. Where like one of the biggest issues with critical social justice is they look at any disparity of outcomes as some sort of racism or sexism or whatever you're going to call it. But in the true liberal tradition, we don't look at things like disparity of outcomes, right? What we look at is barriers to entry for success. And those are two very different things, right?
Yep.
So equity would be we have enough quality of outcomes amongst all groups.
Exactly.
Which has never happened. It will never happen.
Can
In
never
fact,
happen.
You don't have to.
Yeah, it's just it
find-
can't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, you
It's
don't have
biologically
to.
impossible.
You can actually like find any trait that is common to different people. Look at people that are heavy gamers, right? Put them in their own group and study them. You will see disparate outcomes between people that fall in that group, which is race neutral, right? Anybody can be a part of that group versus other groups.
Yep.
And it might be positive or negative. Like I don't even really know, but there's still going to be disparate outcomes. Any way you classify people, there's going to be disparate outcomes.
Yep. You give 100 people $100, and in a few weeks, some are going to have way more than $100, and some people are going to be absolutely penniless.
Yes.
Yeah, it's natural human nature. There is nothing you can do about it, and attempts to equalize it always tend towards the equality of nothing, where basically everybody starves to death equally. That is the logical outcome of it. Is you're killing fields and your Uncle Joe Stalin masturbation.
It's pigs walking in suits.
Yeah, we
Well,
know,
that's all-
and I want to kind of leave this at the end point, but
Okay.
because
Well-
what we're talking about is like basically what communism, the utopian version, wants to purport is this crazy idea that everybody's going to have this equal outcome in economic prosperity, even though that doesn't transcribe to reality whatsoever.
Yep.
Right.
So, when do you choose the topics for each week? Out of curiosity.
The same day.
It's pretty much, this is pretty
No.
much Excel's driving the car. So, and he is, it's inspirational to him.
No, it's not just that. It's we have a little Discord private group. If you really want in, then I'll leave it to Irate to invite you.
Okay, sounds fun.
Itchies. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes we drop links and we talk about it throughout the week, but it generally has to do with what's the hot button psychosis that we're hearing this week. Like,
Right.
I think maybe we should look into what
What's
they
in the
consider
zeitgeist.
violence. Yeah, maybe we should, yeah, in the zeitgeist, yeah. We should maybe look into what they mean by violence, since they keep calling themselves fucking peaceful protesters.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps we need to figure out what the fuck they mean by violence.
What about
Yeah,
peaceful?
I could talk about 20 minutes right now on that exact topic.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think that's another good one along with gender. So,
Well, you
know,
just want to
generally,
decide to do that topic?
You know what? Actually, I'm gonna defer back to like we have 18 people watching right now. I rate you have a whole bunch of people. Like, put it to them. Like, comment if anybody wants to comment.
Yes,
on the
comment,
stream
please.
after this happens. Things they want to explore, then like we can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget
and
to
we'll
share
question
these
shit.
streams when we aren't live, guys, because these are informative and these can really help people further their own ability to stand up for themselves in shitty situations.
Well, shit. The
So-
only reason we're doing this is we still have 18 people watching on a topic that it was nonsense, right? Like we were doing it on my channel, and we're just like, God, we have like almost as many views as I have fucking subscribers.
So, well, yeah, iRate definitely has the better platform and
Well,
people with better word of mouth.
Well, and I'm begrudgingly a member of this thing in a way, but Excel knows that this tickles my thing and my brain just enough to keep me engaged because it pisses me off so much.
Yeah, well, that's why we moved it. Is you were totally interested in this,
so
and
sweet. He's such
I
a
also
nice
want
man.
to like, as long as we have things to talk about, let's keep having streams.
Why not?
It doesn't have to be about me. Let's talk about this every Saturday at 8 p.m. Central.
That's right.
On iRate Prostate's channel.
Exelereighted Deconstruction. Let me plug tomorrow. I'm going to be interviewing the Messiah of Keck. That's 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to hang out and talk, man. It's like I've known that guy forever. He's one of the first people I met when I came on the interwebs here on YouTube, and I have never talked to him. And we're changing that tomorrow. Just saying. All right, so
Okay.
so I didn't mean to shut people
We're
up.
changing all these things, y'all. We're going to shift it all around. We're going to make it bigger and smarter and make it go boom. And then we're going to bring in titties.
That's what I'm saying.
Yahoo! Titties
Yeah.
are good.
Titties.
That's right.
Titties.
Titties and beer.
Titties and beer.
That's
There we
right.
go. Okay.
Frank Zappa.
Now that I've, yeah.
Zappa's been
Oh,
involved.
actually,
We're good.
I went to school with his godson. He was my best friend in high school. So
You do know about like critical justice people hate titties. So
Yes, I know.
That would be a good topic if you haven't talked about it already.
Tyro, chill.
Should we call him? Teats?
So I am Tyro in Co-8. My current channel is Tyro Moonhopper because my first one got deleted. Don't really post to it, but what I do have now is I have a new blog on WordPress called Biswell Complex. What I'm doing is I'm assembling, I'm putting together a bunch of trees so people can see the forest, because I got real tired of people saying, oh, there's no evidence of that, or what's your proof? And so instead of trying to memorize it, now I'm actually writing it down.
Right.
I'm posting it to a blog where I'm just compiling all this mountains of evidence of Biswell behavior. It's kind of geared as a sociology experiment to basically prove my basic constructs of the Biswell pipeline and the Biswell barrier, trying to prove that these are accurate descriptors. So I post a lot of proof of, hey, here are these people behaving this way. So check it out.
You said a whole bunch of shit that I don't understand unless you copy the link and post it in the chat so I can bookmark it and read it later.
All right.
You did it.
Yeah. But basically the blog is dedicated to essentially what y'all are doing here, but just in blog post form and just compiling a bunch of examples of it in action.
Excellent.
So like the Canon Hinon thing was my latest one. I've got ones about Epstein, and I've got a whole bunch of posts coming, stuff about Antifa and Black Lives Matter is in there, but I also do it about pop culture and politics both. So
Nice.
Yeah, I got all kinds of statements about the Canon one because they're being weird, Mom, about that thing. So Yeah.
Yeah.
That one looks like it was worse than we thought it was, y'all.
Mm.
So, anyway.
All right, so
yeah, I gotta hop anyway because I'm fucking starving.
all right, well, let's say goodbye, everybody, and then we'll be out, and we'll be back this time next week, next Friday, of course, a Cream Stream, where we don't do anything quite like this, but we do get apoplectic quite a bit. So,
and we freak out on really gross videos.
Indeed.
Yeah, so the Cream Stream is like, maybe this shit will come up, but we're making fun of it, and it's hilarious.
Say goodbye, fam.
Usually, yeah, bye. Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Every week on Friday, midnight Eastern, the Cream Stream, the weekly world news for YouTube. Sundays, 5 p.m. Eastern, the ice cream interviews, fascinating people, fascinating people. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, hot takes with the Butter Baron, watching horrible shit so you don't have to. Subscribe to Irate Prostate now.
Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow with Messiah